In my defense, that music is so good it deserves to be heard twice. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome, everybody, to day 32 of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. It is Return to the Barrier Peaks, or I guess this session we're actually calling Aftermath, technically. Sponsored, as always, by Alligator Alley Entertainment. Thank you so much for being here. My apologies for the slight technical snafu in the middle of that. I may or may not have hit a button I wasn't supposed to hit. But anyway, we are past it, and I am super excited for tonight as we close out the last little coda of Shadows in Twilight and get ready to move on to the next chapter called Return to the Barrier Peaks. Very excited about this. You will see why in just a moment. Before we get there, though, a couple of reminders about ways to support us on the channel. If you have not done so already, please follow the channel. If you haven't done so already, please consider checking out our YouTube, !ArvTube. And if you're watching me over on YouTube today, thank you. And please spread the word and subscribe to us over there as well. It is free for you to do that, but it really does help us out. We are closing in on 1,100 subscribers, and so please do subscribe if you haven't done so already on YouTube. I promise, doesn't cost you anything, but it really does help us, so thank you. Discord is !ArvCord, where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets for as long as we continue to use that hell site. We're also trying to move everybody towards Blue Sky. That is !ArvSky, so check that out. Thank you so much, Shrub. I appreciate that. And the website for all of this is arvaneleron.com. Don't forget to check out Hearthglow, which is our actual play show that is set in my Forbidden Library universe. That is going to be coming to a close in a month or two. We have a big finale coming up at Sacred Heart University, which may actually be pushed slightly back from March to April. I will let people know when I have details. But that's good news, actually. If it gets pushed back to April, the reason is that it got pushed back is because it's part of a larger festival happening at Sacred Heart. So I'll have more details about that. Either way, the finale will be either March or April, and it will be in person and live with tickets and everything in a theater. So you'll definitely want to be, if you're in the Southern Connecticut area, definitely have your calendar marked for that. And you can find that podcast hosted on my YouTube channel, but also on the website, arvaneleron.com. Also check out my Gen GMs show, which I do with the amazing Zach Clay, about whom more in a moment, I should say. And again, that's Gen GMs, but you can find this on our website, which is arvaneleron.com. Financially, Exclamation Point Arv Shop, that is the merchandise area, which features a lot of cool stuff that supports our various channels. So please consider checking that out. Let me see. That's the shop. Yes, the Patreon, Exclamation Point Arvtreon, which is currently sitting at $85 a month, although we don't get that much because of fees and so on. Would love to see this get into triple digits again. There are cool stuff that you can get by the Patreon. You can get an epic character background written for you. You can get an epic poem written about you. You can get all kinds of stuff that is supportive of your efforts, including like critiques of your writing from a professional writer, yours truly, and so on. You can do all of that if you support us over on that Patreon. That's Exclamation Point Arvtreon. And please consider subbing to the channel, where you get those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch. And that includes, of course, the inspirations to help our players, both with subbing and also with supporting the Patreon. So please do that. On the publishing side, Exclamation Point Icarus is my graphic novel from Athos Arts. Exclamation Point Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment, which is the sponsor of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. And Exclamation Point Greyshade, which is my Greyshade IP that features Greyshade, Renegade, and Heretic, the 3 books of the Grey Assassin trilogy from Athos Arts. That is available right now at that link, and you can also get the audiobook of Greyshade from our very own Trent Sparks available at that link, and you can also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade, which is coming out from Alligator Alley Entertainment, and Brandon O'Brien is the lead designer. That will be out in the summer of this year, so now is the time to pre-order, so please consider doing that. And last but certainly not least, Exclamation Point BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Exclamation Point Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Exclamation Point Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message we will do so for others in the future. I want to get right into the game today, but I will simply quickly say that on Tuesday, I will be back after this session on Tuesday with the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month, which is a game called Neva? Nova, Neva, Neva, and I am looking forward to that. And then I'll be over on GOG Comms Twitch channel with Pen and Pixels, playing more of By the Dice Roll and D&D with Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And then on Thursday night, we'll wrap up the month of January with more Caves of Cood. So it is all going to be super exciting, and I can't wait for it. But now I am going to unmute myself and apologize to anyone that I interrupted because I couldn't hear them. And then I am going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal the crew that stands before you. Well, it sits before you. They are here, they are back, and they are ready to go. They somehow managed to get their characters through and survive everything. But for how long? No, I'm just kidding. It reminds me of like local news. My mom used to say everything would be like, and such and so event resolved peacefully, but for how long? Like it was always like they could never just be happy. Anyway, we'll see what happens with this crew. I'm very excited for it. I will begin with the person at the top left of your screen. And that, of course, is Rhiannon Held. It's good to see you, Rhiannon. How is everything with you? And who are you playing on this lovely evening?
Things are great. We have some sun, still a bit cold. We were
Nice.
just talking. I'm in Portland, Oregon. So little sun is nice.
Yes.
And I am playing Sataria Verban, who is a half-elf divine soul sorcerer. So got some healing going on in her sorcery.
Outstanding. Yes, and we're going to be talking quite a bit. There was at the very end when I was prepping for this. There's a very funny moment where Sataria is like, "Can we rest?" It's very much like to the party, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we should probably do that." Anyway, because Sataria was a big part of keeping people alive in that last one, including certain dire wolves too. Anyway, always a pleasure to have Rhiannon with us. Also a pleasure to have Toya Kristen Finley with us, who, though she mourns the unfortunate circumstances of the Tennessee Titans season, there is always next year. I have no doubt that they will be back with all I won't use that term, with all footballs throwing. Let's put it that way, and all that sort of thing. But it's good to see you, Toya. Toya, how are you doing? How's life with you, and who are you playing today?
Fairly well. I have a weird head cold thing, so I
I'm sorry.
apologize for any coughing or sneezing that may happen. Also, speaking of weather, Nashville is stupid during January, and not just because of climate change.
Just in
So,
general.
we had our snow about 2 weeks ago, and then it was, around 57 last week, and now it's back in the 30s. So,
Yep.
I will be playing Knowles Darkly, also known as Malik, a human bard tonight.
Very exciting for that. Thank you, Toya. Moving to the bottom left, it is a pleasure to have back LaShawn Amwanek here. Also digging the scarf, LaShawn, by the way. Good stuff. I like the look. How's everything with you? How are you doing? And whom are you playing? Who are you playing today?
Thank you. It is cold, hence the scarf.
Can confirm, yes.
Yes. So I got hand warmers and I have tea. So I am good.
Okay.
So I am playing Raven Galinar, who, if I recall, has spotted in the last game we have spotted something very interesting. So
that is the case. Yes.
To see how she reacts to that.
Yes, so am I. I am very interested in that. And yes, that is the case. Always a pleasure to have LaShawn with us. And last but certainly not least, do not adjust your television sets. The man you see on your screen at the bottom right is still Zach Clay, albeit it is not Zach's evil alternate history twin brother without the hair. But Zach has returned. I believe it was Prince Justin, who's in chat, who made a comment on one of our Gen GM show where we were talking about the poncho, Zach. That was just like, it's too cold in Minnesota for ponchos. And I'm like, that's true. That's true. Only California can do that as well, so to speak. But obviously, given what California has been through over the last few weeks, they deserve any kind of weather benefits they could get. It's good to see you, Zach. How are you doing? How's life with you? And who are you playing tonight?
I'm doing well. I was on another actual play show earlier this morning on Pod by Night, which is the Fallout tabletop show. But yesterday, Fridays are locally for my brother and our friends that we have, are kind of our game night where we play Magic the Gathering. It's kind of like our Friday poker night. And we were up until like 2 a.m, which means that by the time I got home, went to bed, it was 3. And I had been using my phone all day yesterday because I was volunteering all day. And my phone, I didn't realize as I went to bed, I was like, yeah, I remembered to set an alarm for myself because the Fallout show was this morning, and didn't realize that my phone was at 9% when I went to bed, and my phone died while I was sleeping. And so no alarm. And I can hear the songbirds singing, my beautiful dog's laying in bed next to me like, good morning, sunshine. And I open my eyes and I'm like, I don't know what time it is. I go to check my phone. No, phone is dead. I see my laptop, which is still closed. I'm like, okay, either I overslept the show and I'm in big trouble, or I woke up perfectly on time, like sometimes happens. And I opened up my laptop and the show starts in 10 minutes. Heck yeah. So I made it.
Well
And
done.
yeah, so that was my morning. Had a great time on the show. And yeah, just feeling honestly, I've been riding the luck of my own body and metabolism the whole rest of today, because obviously my body knows when to wake me up
Clearly.
serendipitously. So with that, I am playing today and have not overslept into Dr. Keldon Jaraxxus, our Dendus Cybermancer, who is very curious what's beyond the remaining doors in this place, or if there are even any remaining doors.
There may indeed be, as we're going to talk about here in just a second. It's a pleasure to have Zach with us, and let us get rolling, chat, as we get moving into this. As a reminder, don't forget that as you are watching today's festivities, if you like what you see and you're like, these people are amazing, we should support them in every way possible. First of all, go buy all their books and all of their things and support all their various activities. But in addition to that, don't forget that if you cheer officially within Twitch Cheer using Twitch Bits, that those get added up and those get distributed to the players when we hit a certain threshold. And it's a little bit better than the threshold of YouTube Google, where I'm about to get my first payment after hitting $100 after 11 years of being on the platform. So it was a long play, but let me tell you, that $100 that it's all about the Benjamins. Anyway, that is something which you can do much faster, chat, if you are willing to cheer for these lovely folks using bits within the channel. So please remember that as we are moving on. And with that said, let's talk a little bit about what happened in our last session. It was our last session where the party finally came to grips with the evil Caridin known as Fizelkis, which, as it turns out, is not an elder god of the Twilight Elves, but in fact is something which has attempted to worm its way into the consciousness and the subconsciousness, in many cases, of those who live in Celis. The party, of course, or at least two members of it, had been sent down here to discover more information about that and to be able to free the Twilight Elves from what they were dealing with, because, in turn, it would allow the Twilight Elves to focus on something other than their own problems and would let them turn around and be able to help the party. While they were down there, though, something funny happened on the way to the forum, and by that I mean that there were two other people that joined them as two of the previous characters that we had. Fob and Titus were sent away somehow mysteriously, and in their place returned two new people. That was, of course, Sataria Verben and the previously mentioned Raven Galinar. Joining to forces, because, the other two didn't know where they were, and they were also in a very hostile environment, the four managed to work together to discover how to get access to the room where where Fizelkis was kept. They battled off some shadows. They almost had a TWK, Total Wolf Kill, with Gamork, but they managed to keep Gamork alive. The person who was completely clear and had no problems at all were the originals, Dr. Jaraxxus and Nulls. Sataria got hit for a fair bit and was sitting at 7 out of 18 hit points the last time I checked. Raven was sitting at 11 out of 18, and Gamork was sitting at negatives until Gamork was saved. But they did manage to defeat Fizelkis, and now find themselves looking at this item which has been destroyed. And so, as I mentioned last time, but I will head over to the map to reveal, after the defeat of this, and incidentally, new map, chat, by the way, those of you who were watching last time, this is indeed a new map, as I was reminded. The group managed to defeat them, and once that happened, a burst of light emitted from the core of this cylindrical device, which you see right here in the center, enveloping the room and transforming the entire area. There are metal panels lining the walls and columns, and those display illuminated patterns upon them where the glowing runes once were, and the panels intersect around a metal-plated door that appears on the west wall. And that door is over here. There is a glass dome that is mounted on the wall to the right of the doorway, and it was at that point that the party said, as I previously said, can we please rest? And so that's what we did. Also, I see that my windows are off. Sorry, give me 1 second. I am not, in fact, Dr. Jaraxis. There's anything wrong with that. I mean, listen, I have great respect and all, but okay. Sorry. Whilst I move you all around. Okay, that is Raven. That's correct. That's Toya. Yes, okay. That goes there. Yes, all right. And then this is her not appearing in this picture. Dr. Jaraxis goes here. And then we have this. Okay, great. Right. So as I get myself, get this last window captured so we can actually see Rhiannon. There we go. I will hand things back over to the party. I believe you had just taken what was a short rest, I think, and you had restored some of your hit points totals because I think you rolled some hit dice for this. Should also mention, by the way, chat, that right after this little coda, they will level up to level 5, I should mention, so be aware that we've got some level ups in our future. But there we go. Now everything's set. So I believe you had rested, and Gamork is currently conscious, albeit quite hurt. So with that in play, what would the party like to do?
I'm remembering also that we took a very large longsword that we used to keep the other door open, I believe. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, that's right. You're talking the door to the east. Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
So I forgot who was going to use that sword.
I'm not sure any of us were going to use it necessarily, but we were just holding on to it, I think.
Okay, do we want to retrieve it once Gamork is up and able to carry it? Because it was on his back.
Sure. What I had in our notes as well is that Raven, you found a glowing yellow diamond.
That's correct. Yep.
Inside the pillar. I think also I found a gem in the pool of water where the water elemental died. Yes,
that's right. That was
And actually, I think that was picked up by someone else.
It was not. Did you? Yeah. Well, actually, somebody did reach into it, I believe, for the water, but I don't know that it was a gem though. In that fetid pool from which the water elemental would come.
Yeah, I actually don't have a note for that, but I remember.
I just want to make sure. I don't actually recall if someone picked it up. Did anybody pick it up? Does anyone remember if anyone
I don't
picked
remember
up the
it.
Okay.
No, I only remember the diamond.
Yeah.
The yellow diamond that's in the pillar.
Okay. So then, no.
Nothing from that room. Okay.
I at some point want to speak to Gamork before we level up.
Okay.
Because I have the slot available.
I also wanted to ask you, Toya, have you ever played Dark Souls?
I have watched other people play Dark Souls.
Are you aware that there is a wolf that carries a big sword in its mouth? I'm just saying.
I think I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yes. It's
I heard of the birds carrying swords.
It's very Dark Souls.
So are you suggesting that Gamork could actually wield a sword?
I mean,
he should so desire.
If you were, I was wondering if you were trying to recreate it. Exactly.
No.
You know.
Well, it was so big. The sword was so big, and we just attached it to his back.
Yeah.
So
it's just super metal, is what I'm saying. Is it possible? I mean,
you are the Gamork pilot.
I am not going to run Gamork as a sword-wielding dire wolf. No, I'm not going to do
Oh,
that.
dang.
Why did you
At some
even
point, if you
get it
grab,
in
Teasing
his
us.
head?
I
Right.
don't mean to be that. Well, because it's funny because in the thing you actually it holds it by the hilt and it like swings its head to.
Yeah,
But like
it's possible,
it-
obviously.
Yeah, I mean in Dark Souls, which says a lot about physical capabilities. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Maybe down the line if you can graft it onto Gamork's back or something, we'll see if he's even more badass. Anyway.
Can we search the room or the two rooms, but like do a more thorough search?
Sure,
Before
you
we
mean
move
this
on?
room, and then there's 3 rooms basically, right? The one with the hall, the hallway. Like, which rooms do you mean?
Yes. Basically this whole area before we leave it.
Okay.
Because there's still the mystery of this technology. And we activated this pillar thing, and we know that there was like a menu or something. I forgot specifically what we saw on the screens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the back in the hallway, and I think it was I want to say it was Raven that was doing some of this, and maybe Jaraxxus looked at it partly as well. But in the other room that gave you access to it, there was this thing that originally you thought was a mirror, and then Raven and Jaraxxus identified actually as a control panel of some kind. And it did indeed have like a menu of a series of like a bright red runic symbol. And you eventually found in here a digital, like a data plate that had a digital recording that played, which showed this cylindrical object in the center of a room. And that's the object you're standing right next to now, followed by pulsing red lights that marked 3 locations on the base of the thing. And that's how you were able to find it. And eventually it was one of the things that helped to disable it. So those are the things that like seem to be technologically oriented that I'm aware of that you saw.
I'm also curious because I don't remember. Of course, there's a picture of this water where the elemental spawned. Is that water actually still there in the room?
If you want to go back, you certainly can check.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Jaraxxus is too.
Yeah, I'd be very curious about that.
Now I'm wondering if I had a false memory or deja vu of picking up something from the water that was never there, that never happened.
Okay. Are the others, Sataria and Raven, do you want to stay where you are? Are you going to follow them into that other room to check that stuff, or do you want to stay here and search or whatever?
I'm gonna stay by the pillar.
Okay.
Because I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait till people are distracted and I'm gonna pick up the diamond.
Okay.
Raven already picked it up last session. The
Oh, I
glowing
did?
yellow diamond.
Yeah, you already had it.
Yeah.
Oh, I already have it.
You.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
you
I
already
have
it. Yeah.
Okay, did
See, we
anyone
are-
see me
there's-
pick me up?
Yeah, there's something memory-wise going on here. We were all. You guys met by any weird, mysterious men in black suits holding a silver device?
I mean,
Okay.
it tracks for the nature of where you've been in this adventure. Is whole thing has been a little dreamlike. So, okay, so then
Sataria's
yeah.
gonna follow along. She will note that she's out of healing. So like clearly she was brought here for a purpose and she figures it was the healing, and so just so you know, she's a little sort of like now at loose ends. Like what do?
What do? Yes.
Should
Okay.
I speak to Gamork before we go back into that room?
Sure. You want to do that, and then you search, and then you figure out what's going on in here.
Yeah, because that'll last half an hour anyway.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. So, yeah, I'm assuming this is at the end. Well, this is happening at the end of the short rest. I'm assuming because especially for the benefit of Gamork who needed it. So yeah. So you can speak to him. He's fur matted with blood and all that, but he is conscious and has said nothing. Just kind of looking at you balefully as per usual.
Okay. I've just cast Speak with Animals, and Nalik is going to go over to Gamork. He's lying down, I'm assuming. He's
Yes.
not. Okay. And Nals is going to put her hand behind his ear, not like on the top of his head or something, but behind his ear. And it says, "You almost had the greatest honor any warrior could achieve, but I must say, I'm glad you're still here.
My presence is irrelevant, I think, since you all seem to be willing to work into death regardless. I'm, however, more pleased to be alive than not.
Well, if I'm being honest, and we're both being honest, I'm pleased you're still here.
Did those other two help? The one who healed my wounds. Do you trust them?
I do. I trust her. The other one, not so sure yet, although I can't say I would just rush in and help a bunch of strangers, especially if I were so strangely dislocated from where I was before. She comes from the stars, just like Jaraxxus. But you don't trust her either, do you?
I have learned to trust no one. It is the reason that I still exist.
Well, my feelings are almost hurt.
And he says, you realize that you have been dragged along like a pup. So far, you are simply reacting to events. I wonder when you will begin to lead, you and your people. When will you step forward instead of trailing behind?
Am I reacting and trailing, or am I observing? Wondering when the best time is for me to strike.
I don't believe you. You are not that kind. I would have smelled it.
Well, maybe you aren't as instinctual as you think. Maybe I can still surprise you.
You already have.
Well, then, maybe my feelings aren't so hurt after all. Good to have you still around.
And the great beast rises and sort of, moves around its, shoulders, muscles rippling through its shoulders of its fur, you can see. And, well, regardless, this cursed place smells different somehow.
How different?
Possibility. Something in the ether. I don't know. But something has lifted from it.
And that, foe who almost took you out? Notice anything particularly interesting about it?
I still taste that shadow death in my jaws and on my tongue. Yes, his stench is gone, though traces linger. And he pauses and he sort of sniffs again and he says, but you are still not alone. Something else lies beyond, not living yet not dead. Sleeping, perhaps.
A threat?
And he sniffs and he shakes his head and it kind of gets this strangely, slightly confused look, and I don't know. It is hidden.
And Knowles will say to everybody else, we're still not alone here. Something is hidden, but maybe not alert.
You sense this.
Say that again? I didn't hear that, sorry.
Oh, Raven's like, you sense this.
No, Gamork does.
Oh, Gamora.
Although
Yeah, because all you have heard is like back and forth. Yeah.
Although he also says that the atmosphere, the ether itself has changed, something has lifted, but there's still something sleeping that maybe not be alive.
Hmm. This whole time, I think Jiraxis was because although we had the intention of searching out these other rooms, is the assumption that we're all still kind of chilling. in
Yeah,
this
the
one.
way
Yeah.
that it sounded is that you wanted to have this little convo, and then you're going to
Okay.
search, and then you're going to look at whatever's on the west wall, I think is what you said.
Yeah. This whole time, as Jiraxis was listening to, or kind of like seeing Nalik talk to Gamork, he was going back through his sim recording unit to replay what happened in the room with the water elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Not only to see like the flash of when Fob and Titus left and the arrival of our new companions, but then also at a certain point after this, in the silence, Jiraxis goes, "Ah, yes, okay, there, I knew it. It was not a gem, it was a ring. We found a ring in the water. What did I do with that?"
There you
He's
go.
going to look around.
It was indeed a ring.
For some reason, I think Sataria has it, and
Do it? Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I actually do have that in my notes too, but all I have is take ring from catacombs found after elemental defeated.
Right.
And I asked myself this question, will it deal with the beeping? No, it won't.
Yeah, I don't know who took it. I don't think I have it. I was the one that found it, but I have this vague memory. I actually did. I went back through the stream trying to find this because I was like, I swore we found something, and I went to the part where we found it, but I did not get far enough to see if we picked it up, or if.
No, we took it, but I don't know who
Okay.
has it.
I think Sataria has it, maybe.
Okay.
Because I think
Um,
what happened is I picked it up, and Draxus says, I thought it was magical, and magic's not exactly my thing, and you just popped up here, so I don't know, maybe, do you have it?
I will put it in my notes.
Yeah, there is a ring, and I don't know if any of you, I don't know if you've looked at it very closely. At the time, you were all like, you're like, we got to look at that later. We got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if you've looked at it carefully, but you could.
Yeah, I mean, so out of spells, not really good at looking at tech, but I can do an Arcana check or something.
Sure. Go ahead and do that, please. 9.
9. Woo.
I mean, the one you don't know for sure, except for one bit of sort of clear information, Sataria, which is this has been sitting presumably at the bottom of this pool of water for who knows how long, and looks completely and totally pristine, not rusted, not tarnished or even damaged in any way. So you don't know if it's magical, but it's sure as hell resilient.
Yeah, Jiraxis will say, what do you think? Is it magic?
Well, it seems to be. It has not corroded. But if there's anything I learned at the academy, it's not to just put rings on to see what they do. So
Right.
I can hold on to it, but I'm not inclined to experiment at this moment.
Do you mind if I take a look as well?
There you go.
Okay. I'm also not going to put it on.
Puts it right on. Oh,
But I guess I could also make an
Roll better.
Arcana check on it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't forget, chat, by the way, I'm not saying to use it on this, but we do have inspirations available. Yeah, unquestionably, first of all, Naz, you come to a similar conclusion that Sataria does about the fact that it's not corroded. It has to be magical in some way. The other thing you notice, though, is that as you are sort of like looking at it, fiddling with it, you have a little bit of a difficulty. The ring almost seems to slightly shift a bit in your hand. I'm not saying that it like falls off or like, attacks you or something. It just it's like, you think it's lying on your palm and then it like seems to move, or maybe it's your imagination on your palm and then it moves back to where it was a little bit. So something weird, although you don't really know how to describe that other than what I've just said.
So I remember when I took the great sword that I got a weird feeling from. No, that's another sword. Never mind. That's the sword we left with the I'm forgetting their names. The family, yes. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah, you know which sword I'm talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, different.
So I give the ring back to Soteria and explain that it seems to have movement on its own. I'm also wondering, is it moving in response to something? It did not, like, Soteria, did you sense any movement from this ring?
No. I could use a cantrip on it, maybe, to see what that does. That could be a next step. And I can still do cantrips.
Also, I could
mean,
have Gamork sniff it if you don't get anything from your cantrip.
Rings.
if I cast mending on it, it won't do anything, but it would the spell still sort of go off enough to make it react to magic?
Unclear, but I mean, you could try.
Okay. So I'm gonna try, like, just hold it on my palm, cast mending on it.
So
See what
nothing.
happens.
Yeah, nothing. So there's no effect of any kind on the ring, except you do think you feel the ring move slightly, Soteria, like without you having moved your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, but nothing beyond that.
Well, it's slippery. Strange. She will start to like just hold out her hand to Gamork and then sort of be like, wait, not thrusting hand into face, probably. So she'll get a little more cautious about it.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you sense anything from what you're smelling? Also, do you know what you're smelling?
It is a hand. Is there something on it?
There is indeed something on it.
Metal and coldness was in water. I have no use for rings. Something for one of you to wear, perhaps. But I am no wizard.
Well, your sniffer is working just fine. He says it's a ring for wizards.
What are wizards?
I should rephrase that. That may be a little misleading. I didn't quite mean that. More that it's some magic of some kind, but no idea what. Sorry, I don't want to give people the wrong idea.
I know. I'm literally
That's fine.
just repeating what he said.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to make retcons so we didn't. We're like, only wizards can use it. I don't want to be like that.
I'm wondering again. Is it responding to something when it's moving?
If you just hold it in your palm, I will tell you, it just seems to slightly shift on its own. Use a ring. Slightly shift on its own.
So, I'm going to ask Soteria, if we think we can like walk around the room or around the space, because we want to walk around the space anyway, and see if the ring responds to anything.
Sure, that makes sense.
Okay, so, I guess we just stay in this room first. And what are these little things? I forgot. There's the big cylinder in the middle, but what are the other 12 things around it?
These other things around it are basically sets of decorative columns.
Okay.
And I think I had a picture. Let me see.
Or Toya, do you mean the yellow dots? Or do you mean the pillars around the room?
So there are these pillars like where Ceteria's token is.
Mm-hmm.
To the left are these two columns, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, those are just decorative columns. They have, although I will say, originally they had this sort of weird bluish tint and so on. Those, now everything in the room is gold, just lit up in this sort of golden light.
So after the defeat of the boss, everything is gold now.
Yes.
Okay.
And literally reflecting the light that came from that center pillar.
And there's nothing else on the pillars themselves.
No. Other than, well,
Okay.
just like little patterns, but like I said, but they were just sort of decorative patterns. Does not look like the runes that you saw on the
Okay.
mirror, which is actually a control panel or anything like that.
And
Draxus is going to approach this door over here.
Okay. Can do that. So you do see a glass dome. The metal door itself has no markings or handles or anything, but there is a glass dome that is mounted on the wall to the right of the doorway.
Okay. You can come back to me because I know that Nalik was still in investigation mode.
Okay.
And there's nothing on the cylinder.
No, that's correct. Right now, all that is left on it is there is just golden light that is emanating from it and around it. And the light is shining in all directions, reflecting basically all the stuff around the walls, those metal panels I mentioned, seem to be reflecting the central golden light of this pillar.
Okay. Ceteria, do you want to join me in the corridor in that other room?
Nothing better to do. I can be useful, I guess.
Okay,
Try to
so
figure this out.
we'll make a quick sweep, like in this hallway here, and
Okay.
also in that room where the elemental was.
Okay. Tell me what a quick sweep looks like. What are we talking about?
Well, like I'm wondering, like, will the ring respond to that panel, for instance?
Does not seem to. Just I mean,
Okay.
it continues to do the same, slightly jittering around on your hand, but nothing, not specific to the panel or anything else.
And also, like, can I make an investigation of this pool of water? Oh, also, the pillars in this room, are they the same as the one in the other?
Yes.
Okay, so they are also now all gold.
They are, yes, and that seems odd. They are also gold, and they're not reflecting, obviously, light in here because the pillar's light is not reaching in here, but they are also now golden. Yes.
Okay. Can I quickly investigate this pool of water?
Sure, absolutely. It is this sort of fetid pool, and you can see that the reason. Actually, we'll go ahead and make your investigation check first, and I'll let you know what does or doesn't appear as a consequence of that. 19. Yeah, there is the reason the water is coming. You can see in the first place down to this area is because there is a crack in the upper wall, which is dripping basically into the pool. Now that the water elemental is gone, the pool is maybe slightly smaller, but basically the same kind of idea. It's kind of a little bit brackish and stale and probably not particularly refreshing. But that's what seems to be in the pool. Now, if you wanted to wade into it a little bit, it would probably go up to I don't know, maybe 2 feet. It might go up to cover the, mid, maybe a little bit under your knee or something like that. If you went all the way to the deep end, but that's what the water seems to be coming from.
And the crack in the wall, I'm guessing it just looks like a crack in the wall.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That's interesting. I'll just go back and report what I saw.
Okay. Okay, Draxus, you said you were looking at
The
stuff.
door. Yeah.
The door.
I'm going to try to keep us advancing, perhaps.
Oh, I also grabbed because
The sword was in the door.
Oh, the sword. Right. Okay. Right. Which the
Yeah.
door then smoothly closes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while all this is going on,
Yes.
I guess Raven has just been kind of like watching people. 'Cause,
Okay.
Did anyone see her when she picked up the diamond? Because I think that was where we had left off.
Here's my
I don't
question: are you trying to avoid them seeing you picking it up?
I think there was someone who was nearby who probably would-
Yeah, Nalls was right next to her, basically.
yeah.
It's up to you, Raven, as to whether you wanted to try to pocket it or because unless Nulls is staring right at it, there is a possibility if you try that you might avoid it. I would probably give Nulls a bonus to detect it because Nulls was right there, but
You know what? I'm just gonna pick it up, and if Null sees, Null sees.
okay. Then I would say Null sees.
Okay.
And Nalls is going to put that away for later.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Somewhere in the corner, Gamork grins. Pretty much any time you want a sort of general commentary of like, what does the badass creature say? You know, Gamork is usually like, I love the sort of old sage in a corner meme. You know, like I'm a big fan. Not that he's old, of course. Gamork would be terribly horrified if I said that. Okay, so Raven has the diamond, and I will say one thing, by the way, Raven. One note for free. This yellow is the exact same color as the gold light in the rest of the room.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Draxus, you are at the door.
So I see this glass dome next to the door.
Yes.
I will put my hand on it.
When you put your hand on it, the door slides upwards. And you see, this is where if we were playing with Trendane, he would say, your own death. Like, no, not your own death. But you do see a circular chamber. There is a, here, let's see, there's a western door, and I believe that leads up, hold on one moment as I quickly check something about my map. There's this. There's this. Yes, multiple appendices. Because this is a new map, so I'm trying to make sure that I accurately describe it. Never mind your awesome creatures. Sorry, y'all. I thought this was closer than that. Okay. Anyway, let me take the chance then to reveal a little bit more up here.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay, I got it. So, this opens up into what you can see here is roughly a 15 by 15 circular chamber, and then to the north, you can see there is a passageway that is leading upwards or leading to the north from where you are. And I will say that, like the rest of this place, there's a fair bit of debris, but there is also, in particular, some little pieces of glass that you can see on the ground leading up towards the chamber to the north.
I'll look back at the group and say, I don't think we're done here yet. Are you all ready to move? Maybe we'll find some more secrets.
But I can't heal anybody. Just saying.
Oh. I do have this. I'll pull out my potion of healing that's kind of sloshes. It's half full. And I do have this. I pull out a piece of jerky. It was told that this can heal magically. So I hold the potion and the jerky. We'll be fine. I think that most of the danger is behind us.
Not so fast. Let's hope that's the case, but let's not speak anything that might doom us.
Gamork, why don't you, or you tell him maybe he should be in the back for now.
Well, I can tell him that.
Of course.
So Noz will just tell Gamork that Jaraxxus suggests that he should hang in the back.
So that I may be first to receive the brunt of any attack, I suppose.
No, I think he's trying to make sure that you don't get hurt further.
Anything that would hurt me, I would like to see coming. I will, as your people say, watch your back.
And I tell Jaraxxus he will begrudgingly watch our backs.
I had a feeling no matter what I suggested, he would disagree with it, so I'll take my win.
Okay. So you all can position yourself as you like then. Gamork will, as mentioned, be here in the back, but everyone else can go as they like. Okay. And Raven, you too?
Working on it. Hold on.
Should he still have that little death marker on him?
Just in case. No, you're right. Probably shouldn't. I feel a little nervous about what he had. Yeah. All right.
Was there
It is gone.
Was there anything that actually confirmed that the creature that we just fought and defeated was Phyzelkus? Like, did it ever say that?
The
'Cause
reason
I think on an out of character level we kind of know, but
well, I think what you assumed so because the room itself changed so substantially after having defeated him. Whereas you may remember you had to deal with those shadows. When you were defeating those, nothing happened except that you defeated the shadows. Defeating him, all of a sudden, everything changed, including the pillar. But it is a little bit of a guess.
got it. Yeah, it never actually said any proper nouns.
I am Phyzelkus and destroyed. Yeah, no, it did not.
Yeah,
do that.
and also we never actually heard from him specifically.
Exactly.
No, I thought it did speak.
It was yes, but not using its name or
Right.
as far as I recall.
Okay.
All right. So once you're there, actually, because you
Yeah.
can see up, because there's no door here. Oops, sorry. Too much
There
door.
is a
Too
door
much door. There is a door there. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. And that is closed.
Jaraxxus will approach it and see how to open it.
And actually, when you see the door, when you come to the door, it opens as you approach, which is why I was doing that. I just was jumping the gun slightly. So let me reveal what you see. It is a large room.
Oh.
A very large room.
Okay, I'm not in there, so I can't ask that question.
Well, yeah, no, we can move in.
So, and I will describe this.
Oh,
in
wait,
just a
wait,
moment.
just
Yes.
really quickly.
Sure.
I say to Gamork, the woman to your right is Raven. Keep close tabs on her.
And he sort of. You doubt this person.
Well, you told me first that I should doubt her. Has that changed?
No. I was curious to see if you would remain consistent.
Have I surprised you yet?
And he growls and does not respond. Actually, Raven, I would like you to make an insight check for me, please.
Insight check. Yep.
Insight check, please.
Give me 1 second.
The reveal areas thing is so much better on the new jump gate for Roll20. I'm looking forward to switching over to that soon. Okay.
Refresh my memory on how I do inside checks.
So inside check should be wisdom based, and if you have, so you should be able to just do. You can basically, if you don't have it there, it should be on your skill list on your sheet. But if not, then it would just be your wisdom bonus, whatever that is. Sometimes you could be proficient in inside checks depending on your character. I
actually am.
Okay, then you can add the plus.
Or do you have any plus in it right now?
+5. Yeah.
There you
So when's 3 + 2, 5. So
Yep.
do I roll anything?
You're gonna roll a d20 plus 5.
Okay, d20 +5. So
So
that would be 12.
I think it's fair to say that you notice that Gamork seems to be keeping a fairly close. Well, I mean, the dire wolf is always sort of somewhat intimidating in terms of how it looks, but you certainly seem to notice that it's spending a lot of time focusing its attention on you somewhat.
Oh, that's
for whatever
okay.
reason that is.
I'm very, very aware that it's focusing its attention on me. I'm focusing my attention on it too.
I love that both of you are staring at each other. So as you walk in. Okay. So in this room, this is as I said, a large room, about 50 feet wide or so, that is fashioned from, and this is the unusual part, polished black stone. And there are bright metal panels that you can see as well. And on both the eastern and western walls, there are a half dozen 6-foot tall oval-shaped containers which are mounted. And the other thing I'll say is that there is, which you can't quite make out here, but over here, there is a raised metal platform forming a half moon on the far side of the chamber.
Okay. Jaraxxus is gonna inspect these cylinders.
Okay. Though, anyone in particular? Like I see you're standing.
The one I'm in front of. Sure.
Okay.
Good.
You notice that it and its companions next to it has a metal frame, and there are these dark rope-like coils that are extending into the floor and the ceiling. And on the side of the frame is a metal plate, and there are various like knobs and switches on it. The front of each pod is made from hardened translucent glass with a greenish hue. And within it, you can see the obscured shape of a medium-sized creature. And in fact,
Wait.
all of them seem to have something inside.
Jaraxxus will step back and look at Nalik and say, "The missing people. The elves. Where is, my brain is fried. Sometimes, simple moments pass, but it feels somehow like it's been months. Hold on." He'll go back through.
Yep.
Nalik is going to call to Gamork to come in and sniff these cylinders.
Okay.
And again, she's not going to ask him specifically what it is. Just ask him, what do you smell? So he kind of steps back a little bit, his nose wrinkling, and metal and then this pause, and then again that same confused expression that I referred before. Something's sleeping, maybe living, and then kind of gives a small, slight growl and stops talking. So Nalik tells everyone that this was basically what Gamork was talking about in the other room when he said that there was something like maybe alive, but like sleeping hidden. But also he's confused about what specifically it is. Can I investigate the cylinders?
Sure, if you wish. Is there something in particular you're trying to determine?
Well, there's figures there. Is it like the hidden creature?
There seem to be things inside each of these, yes.
Yeah, I would like to see if I can make out specifically, is that a creature? Is it an elf?
So you will be able to determine certainly that it is a creature. It is completely obscured though by the glass. So in terms of what kind of creature, you're not going to be able to know that unless you can get it out of this thing.
So I have the idea with the ring. Can we? Soteria has a ring.
Mm-hmm.
If these cylinders will respond to the ring at all.
That's up to whether Soteria is bringing out the, bringing it next to it. That's up to what Soteria wants to do.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm trying to think, as somebody who doesn't know tech, like how she would try to like apply the ring, because she's not just going to hold it near, she's going to like put it on it. I think what she would do is look for like a slot or like a circle that it would like fit onto.
Okay.
And otherwise just sort of like holding it against the surface.
Wait a minute, you said are at the top of the room, like there's some kind of moon.
Yes, sorry, I
shape?
can probably draw it in if I need to. I will, as a child would, horrifically pen my version of this. Okay, so like, that's not awful. That it's not great, but so there. It is this half moon shaped platform, like a metal platform.
Okay, it's a platform.
Yes.
Raven is going to stand at the door and like be very, very still. Because she is noticeably not freaking out, but she is also freaking out.
Yeah. Okay. Before I get to Draxus, Soteria, I know you were putting the ring up near it or next to it.
And touching it to the surface of the tube.
So, let's see. So it does nothing other than the ring slightly vibrating in the way that I've previously described. It doesn't do it more when you put it next to the panel or the pod. But I would like you to make a wisdom check for me though at disadvantage.
Okay.
Okay. So a 4. Yeah. You have no idea what the hell. I mean, it definitely though does not, it does not, however, clearly have any effect on the panel, nor does the panel affect the ring at all from what you can tell.
So, I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but in that other room, there were 12 pillars, and in this one, there are 12 cylinders.
Maybe we can see how to deactivate them. I'll turn and look at the two newer companions and say, long story short, we're in the depths of a city, which itself is in the depths of the earth. But there have been people going missing for months here. And no one's been sure where they've been going. It also has something to do with the shadows, and we fought a bunch of shadow things. These might be the people we're looking for. It's the reason we came down here.
Well, that's good.
Draxus is going to try to look for a way to open one of these. Or to, if there, you mentioned there was some sort of like pad next to it, or a way to, I mean, I'm not sure if I would be too forward in thinking that us from the Silrain Arc might be familiar with the concept of a storage pod like this for a person,
Absolutely.
So Draxus, even though the tech this specific style might be foreign and he might not understand the controls, he's still going to go for what he is inclined to.
Let me have you make a mechanics check for me, please.
Okay. All right. I'll make a mechanics check. Oh, 19. Ooh.
Okay. Yes, you think you figure out here, based upon sort of looking at what the panel was doing in the other room, the big mirrored panel that looked like a mirror and then turned out to be a panel. You think you know how to open this thing, Draxus. You think you know how to open this chamber pod, whatever it is. And I will say also, it does remind you vaguely of your encounter with the Lady of the Wood. You may remember there are pods there, but vaguely though, it's not exactly the same at all. I don't want to lead people down the wrong way, but you're reminded of it a little bit.
Is the only function that I'm able to access open, or
Yes.
am I able to like? Okay.
Yes, there's
Also,
only open.
Knowles just has a thought as well, connecting the. Gamork was talking about the ether and how something lifted, and the pillars were. What color were the pillars before they turned gold? After
Purple and blue.
Like before the boss was defeated.
Right.
So the theory is basically that whatever creatures are in this cylinder, and the going theory is they're probably the Twilight Elves who were kidnapped, that they have been returned to normal. Like they were under the control of whatever creature that was, but they're back to whatever state they were before, because of the change, basically the state change in that other room.
Could it have been feeding off them also, and then now it's not doing that anymore? Would the color mean that it's pulling something from them?
So we encountered a Twilight Elf named Astrika, who was basically under the control of Physicus. So I don't know if I can make a long story short here, because I'm kind of getting lost in the details of who she was, but she was basically like a spiritual leader, and
Spirit caller.
yeah, it turned out that she was controlling the Twilight Elves, but it turns out she was also under control. And so Knowles was kind of connected with her in kind of like this Shadow Realm area, and she could see like the Twilight Elves in the room looked like they were shadows. Like it was a very very oppressive feeling, basically. And so that's why I'm saying Gamork felt something lift. And like the space we were in with like the colors were very dark. It was very oppressive, and everything has lifted now. So that's why I'm connecting those dots, that whatever, it wasn't a spell, we're finding out, it was tech, but that has been kind of lifted off of the place. And I also had the thought this was like the Lady in the Wood, which there was some weird tech going on there too, where she was controlling basically the wildlife. And like there was this underground network of things that was like it was almost like if you think of mushrooms and how they're all interconnected.
That's pretty good for multiple months and years of work.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to.
No, that was good. That was good. It's too much. Let me sum up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't think you've told them anything yet about Camria and about the whole, the Primarch losing it and all that stuff up top and all that business. I assume that'll come up over the course of time. But yeah, it's pretty good encapsulated summary. Cliff's Notes.
Draxus will turn to the others and say, I can open one.
That seems
just one to start.
And the Raven's like, no. How do we know these are good people? How do you know they won't attack us?
Well, we don't, but if it's 1 against 5.
I don't like this. This looks like, but then she cuts herself off before saying anything else.
Jaraxxus will say, I tried inspecting the panel here. It seems the only thing I can do is open it. I mean, none of us have really looked over at that. I'll point at the platform. Maybe there's something over there, but...
Why are
And
you
if
so
we-
eager to open up these pods?
Because, like I said, if I'm right, if we're right, these are innocent people that have been missing for months.
Okay. And Raven looks very, very torn, but she's like, all right, but I would stand ready just in case.
Nobody disagrees with that at all.
Jaraxxus says, sure, it'll be fine. And he'll say he thinks of something, but then thinks better of it, and he turns back to the pods, and if we sort of like pace alongside them, I know that we can't see distinguishing features of each person, but like, is there one silhouette that's like maybe the smallest, or I don't know, any differences at all that are noticeable? Like, oh, this person is obviously an ogre. I don't know.
No, one with fierce troll-like features.
Yeah.
No, they only thing that you can say for sure is that they're all sort of between small and medium size, basically, and but they are not. You can't tell features beyond that. None of them seem to be like way oversized relative to anybody else.
Okay.
So you can tell that
Yeah.
they're not really moving. They're just sort of like kind of maybe swaying-ish, possibly, but it is hard to see through this thick glass.
Okay. Jaraxxus will do the one he's standing in front of. He'll open it.
So the door opens, and as it opens, two things happen. First of all, it opens and you can see something inside, which I will show to you. And then this, what clearly is based on your own experience down here, specifically Jaraxxus and Nulls. Raven and Sataria, for different reasons, would not have seen these creatures. But Jaraxxus and Nulls knows these to look like a twilight elf. And this elf sort of is just kind of hands folded, basically like this, and then falls forward, and Jaraxxus is going to...
Yeah, I'll
like
stop her from falling forward.
Yeah, so you catch her and sort of slowly lower her to the ground, and as you do, you can see that she is clearly asleep, although coming to. Her face looks drawn, though. She has deep, despite the fact that she's asleep, she has these deep bags as if of exhaustion under her eyes, and looks sort of drawn and pale, even more than most Twilight Elves tend to look pale, but even more so. And is just sort of lying in your arms and slowly like and then eyes slowly opening. And then sort of like starts. Where?
Jaraxxus will look up at the rest of the group and says, he looks up at you. He is literally basically like an alien guy with a squid beard. He looks at you guys like, maybe this should not have been me.
And she says, where why is it light? Why is it light? It was dark. It's like kind of like looking around at you and beyond you.
Look at Nalik, the lead on this one.
Yeah, so Nulls is going to come over and actually say to her in Elvish, "You have awakened from a long dream." It was a nightmare, but you are free from it now.
And her eyes like sort of slowly kind of and then focus and oh, who are you then? Who are you? Like voice is hoarse as if from lack of use.
That is a very long story, but we know of Astrika, we know of the Twilight Elves, and we believe we know how you got here.
Astrika. The thing, the light, the shadow.
Spirit colors.
The shadow. The shadow. And kind of grabs at her throat. Doesn't look like in distress other than like general distress, but
Does anybody have water on them?
Raven will actually come over and hands her a flask silently.
I'm sorry, say that again. Comes across and then does what?
Hands over a flask
Okay.
silently.
Okay.
Okay, you handed that to Nalik, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so Nalik is going to give the Twilight, or very slowly raise the flask to her lips so she can drink water.
Okay. And she does kind of just slowly Thank you. And then behind you, the pod, which had opened, the door closes and you hear zzz, and as you're looking, the pod seems to rotate and inside is another creature.
Based on how much it rotates, can we tell if it was 180 or are there three?
No, looks like it's about maybe, roughly speaking, about maybe a fifth of the way.
Okay, so Nalik is going to say to
Oh my
Raven,
God.
Raven, would you help me move her away from this pod?
And Raven doesn't say anything but shakes her head and helps.
And you notice, Raven, given the size of this person, they certainly go along with you. They wouldn't have the strength to resist anyway. But the body seems very light. If you had to guess, you would say this person has not eaten or drunk anything for months. In fact, you don't know how they're alive, given that.
Hmm.
Can I make an insight check and look for signs of torture?
Not insight. That would be perception, probably, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm assuming investigation would be if you're really like going to start, excuse me, I'm just going to look, check out your bruises. Yeah, I'm guessing you're not doing that. So if you're just kind of doing looking as you're carrying, perception, then yes.
All right.
Which would be, because you're trying to get a sense of what is going on with this person.
Okay.
Also driven by wisdom, by the way.
20 plus. Let's see, he said.
That should also be wisdom. So 10 plus
Perception.
Yeah.
Oh, perception. Oh, that I only have a 1, so 11.
Okay. Raven, it's hard to tell. You don't get a lot from this just from a quick once over. There are no obvious like bruises that you can see, at least on the face or maybe the arms, which are bare. But it's just not the normal biological process of any creature that you know. Certainly you have gone many places in your career across the galaxy, and you've seen creatures that go through something like this. But it reminds you a bit, Raven, I will say, of creatures in stasis even, except stasis is designed to not create metabolism at all, right? You're just supposed to like stay in place. This clearly looks as if there was metabolism taking place, but at a very slow level. So this person eventually might have starved to death, but you don't see any torture, obvious, like, pain that was inflicted on them from the outside anyway. And she, as you sort of, you kind of help her over, she says, "Thank you. There are others. There are others there."
Yes.
I was... Spirit caller, I'm... Naya Lestri.
Naya, there are many people very concerned about your well-being, and in fact, we came in search of you and the others.
The thing, the dark thing, Helkis.
I'll show an image of like a little projection of it from our recording, having fought it, to see if she recognizes.
And she kind of like winces and turns away, which is a pretty good sign, Draxus, you would say. I dismiss
it.
And she says, "Assaulted on minds, nightmares of smothered in honey and blood, and I was strength. I was not here as long as some of the others. Some they put in didn't survive. One died and was pulled out and thrown aside before I was put in. And then the nightmares."
We need more support for this.
Agreed.
I'm not sure that it would be wise to unleash them all now, even if we did.
Free them. She kind of reaches up her hand from where Raven is holding her, like next to her, and says, "Don't let them stay. No one should stay. Some will die if they're not freed. Free them."
Was what Dr. Draxus did to open the pod like something that Sataria could figure out from having watched it?
Well, if Draxus just sort of explained it, Sataria could get it quickly, yeah.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
Okay, because Sataria, I don't know if she mentioned it, but her bedside manner is terrible. So she's gonna sort of start opening and catch people, but then just sit them on the floor.
Okay.
And unless somebody stops her, somebody stops her, it's gonna be produce or something, where it's okay, get it out of the basket, lay it out, see if it needs washing.
This one ripe, yeah, okay.
Well, as Sataria is doing this, one thing Nulls does say is that we're going to have to bring other Twilight elves down here to help care for all of these people, because we can't do it all.
And they're also not all going to fit down here. Some of them that can walk need to make the walk up. I think someone I could volunteer should go back up and tell someone that we trust and get help to come down.
Just before you go on, Draxus, I should say, assuming you weren't stopping Sataria as she started to do some of this, because just one question, Sataria. So again, there was another creature inside the pod, the one that you already got one from. Are you getting the ones from that first? Do you know what I mean? Before just
yes.
Going down the row. So in all, I will say there is a total of 5 which come out of each of these pods. So they rotate, and each time, so there were basically 5 in one of these pods. And Draxus, you can still do this if you wish, but I will say that all of the ones you pull out, there's a couple who were unconscious, there are a couple that are conscious, they all look to be in more or less, some a little bit better, some a little bit worse, but around the same shape as Nylestra is. And as they are freed from it, they seem to gain a little bit of their strength. You think they could probably walk back, although obviously it's going to be slow going. But, and In all, I will say, there are 60 of these, and these appear to be almost all Twilight Elves, with one exception. The last one that comes out from one of these ones to the top side here comes out, and it is not an elf. It is a dwarf. Now, this dwarf, when he comes through, and I, in fact, believe I have a picture of said dwarf that I will show you. Show me the dwarf. Oh, no. Not under monsters.
Show me the dwarf.
Show it to me. Do it now. Here we go. Okay. Yes. Let's copy that image. Let's put that over here so I can show you this dwarf. Okay. So when he comes out, the others, obviously, as I said, were sort of in various stages of unconsciousness or not, stacked like produce or not, depending on on whether Starry is doing it or not. But this one I'm going to show on the stream, not on Roll20 for the moment. Okay, and I'm going to show it now. That's totally not what I meant to do. I am a pro streamer for sure. That's completely why I meant to put the wrong thing up there just now. Okay, let me try that again. Right. Okay, so you'll see this on stream, and there we go. This is what he looks like. And when he comes out, as opposed to the others, he comes out, he is sort of sleeping, but instead of falling, his eyes sort of slowly open. And he says, "Thank you. I hoped that someone would come. I am Dumig Rieger. They call me the Keeper." And the other sort of the survivors there, including Nihilestra, seem to know him. They don't react any way in particular other than to sort of look, and you can see there's sort of recognition. And he says, "You must be to thank for our rescue. We are grateful." And he looks to be in a little bit better shape than the rest of them, albeit still, you know.
I nod my head and say, "It is our pleasure."
You are not a spirit caller, though.
No.
How did you end up down here?
And he smiles and he says, "That is a tale. I am a keeper, as I say, a keeper of Vidanost. I was tasked by the scholars to defend this sanctuary against invaders, and you can see how well I did." And he kind of sits down a little bit and he says, "This place was not always as you see. This is called Vidanost. It is an ancient sanctuary that was built by my people, the clans of the Wormspine. But during the war, the area was emptied and then abandoned until rediscovered by the people of Celis. You may have noticed that the walls themselves have script, runes written upon them." And of course, Null certainly remembers that because Null's actually interacted with that stuff before. He says, "The people of Celis believed that that was a sign from their gods and that the sanctuary had been abandoned. The truth is, we never left. This place was a repository of knowledge, and my people, Dwarven and friends of ours, Gnomish scholars, used Magitech devices. When the disaster, the cataclysm happened, there was an explosion. And the one that you call Vizelkis came through. Now, when he says Vizelkis, even though he's speaking not very loudly, there's a ripple of like slight little cries and stuff from the various people that are the survivors. Many of them are basically like just staring at him, like rapt, you know.
I think Draxus will say, maybe why don't we? This story I am very interested in hearing, but I gesture around the room at the 60 confused, hungry, hurt people. Maybe we should get back to the surface.
Before we go, do you know what this ring is for?
And he looks at it, and he says, "Yes. I thought that it might have been lost. Well, a colleague of mine. You see, in the ancient days, we had things we tried to use, powerful magics that we combined with technologies here to make us do different things. We built this sanctuary and these chambers to house some of those findings. And some of them are, and he kind of gestures upwards because the ceiling is not like 5 feet, right? The ceiling is considerably above you. My companion, one of them, he constructed this item to help him reach high places. And he kind of winks and he says, it's a ring of jumping. If you wish to leap higher, you could use that ring. Sadly, he will not have use of it. He was one of the ones killed when the one I spoke of came.
And how long ago was that, the invasion, Doomig?
I have been entrapped for 2 centuries. Which is a perfect place to take our break. When we come back from it, we will see about them leading the survivors out. Sorry, Toya. Leaving the survivors out of this mix and hearing more from Nulls and the rest of them speaking to Doomig. I am very interested to see what the party figures out as they go along. And do they trust all of their companions fully? Maybe not yet. We will see. But you were watching the amazing crew of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, Rhiannon Held, Toya Kristen Finley, LaShawn Mwanick, and Zach Clay. It's 9:22, so maybe let's aim to be back if we can at 9:30, about 7-8 minutes. And then we'll play for another hour before wrapping up. In the meantime, chat, this is a break for you as well. Go get hydrated, get some drink. You don't want to be without water for 200 years. Go drink some water and stuff like that, and we will be back here in about 8 minutes. Until then, everyone, please hang tight. All right, welcome back, everyone. We have returned as the exposition and the lore spittin', as they say. Welcome back to Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. As we continue along, we will be here for another hour, and then we'll finish up at 10:30 Eastern. And we got some information to gather still, and some survivors to save too. So, with that said, right before we took our break, and also as always, thank you for being here, Chad. Right before our break, we had learned about the existence of this Doomig Rieger, who calls himself the Keeper and is apparently one of the people that originally constructed this place before the Caridin and Fizelkis and those folks took it over. And it's not clear as to why they took it over or what the circumstances are, but we don't know all the details yet because that story's not over. But the party also, he had just said, Knowles had asked, how long were you captured? And he says, I have been in captivity or how long ago did this happen? And he said he had been in captivity for 2 centuries. So with that information, I will hand things back over to the party and to Knowles. What do you want to do?
I wanted to address Doomig.
Okay.
And say to him, the Twilight Elves are about to have their world go under cataclysmic upheaval. Everything they thought they knew is going to be destroyed in a blink of an eye when we all return to the surface. You, as the Keeper, can you help them to understand their reality?
And he nods grimly, and he says, Indeed, I know the reality that they may face all too well. Fizelkis, and then he catches himself because of the whole, so he kind of drops his voice, and he says, Fizelkis is only one of the Caridin. There are others, and the thing that is keeping them from this world is weakening.
Well, we think we may have encountered another one of them in the woods. And Knowles looks over at Jaraxxus. Also, this platform here, do you know what this is?
And he nods and he says, that is where the projection of the one of which I spoke would appear. Before each of us were placed in, that's, well, you would think of it as a image, a moving image, I suppose, would appear and would speak of what the duty was of everyone. The duty they, of course, spoke of was feeding themselves. Go ahead.
Is it Magitech?
In part. The creatures that were doing what they did as they began their process. And he kind of pauses a little bit and then says, well, you already know a great deal. Once the explosion that I mentioned happened, the dimensions walls were weakened, but it did something different as well. This entire sanctuary was shifted. In fact, it was shifted into the dimensional void where the Caridin dwell. Fizelkis took advantage of the veil and pierced through with its powers. And then he looks at you, Knowles, and then looks at all 4 of you. He is controlling the mind of the Primarch of the Silesians. Anarin, thinking he has been speaking to his god, has been speaking to Fizelkis. It is him who has created all that we see down here. And he kind of pauses and says, there is a device in the room next door you might have seen. You would see it as a cylinder, a pillar perhaps of light. He kind of looks at all of you.
Yes.
That is an apparatus we call the Chronicler. And when the sanctuary shifted into this void prison, The clairvoyant mystics that had maintained our records, their bodies and minds fused with it. Since then, the mystics transcribe those visions into the machine. The script you saw on the walls, the runes that you see on the pillars and out in Celis, they are the visions of the mystics, forever bleeding out from the void.
Is there any way we can restore that machine?
The machine, yes. The people, no. There are very few remaining survivors from Vidanost, and those who survived became prisoners of the Caridin. I was the last of the original ones to survive, and I only survived because of my training, which kept them from breaking my mind.
Well, I'm sorry.
And he just finishes by saying, although 200 years is a long time to maintain sanity. And it occurs to you, Knowles, for the first time, that although he looks better than the others, this is still a badly, this is a traumatized person that you were talking to.
And Knowles just says to him, well, we may need that training yet.
He nods. They must be warned. If the Caridin break free, then not just Celis, but all of the world above, a world I have not seen for hundreds of years, may be affected. Eventually there may be some who may even influence those outside, though I cannot imagine that has happened yet. But I have no contact with the outside world.
Well, with the Primarch already being a dangerous man, I cannot imagine what state he will be in once he realizes his god is dead.
Then you must give him a new god. One of reason. Give him something to believe in. I cannot say whether his faith is misplaced, but I can say that he is the faithful, has been misled in this. Vizelkis has taken advantage of him, and the other Caridin will do so as well. And he falls silent. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
How many are there, the Caridin?
I cannot say. I only saw a few at a time. There could be 100 or 1,000,000. I don't know. He also mentions, and when, sort of just to kind of finish up a little bit of that, he mentions the fact that the reason he knows that he was in touch with the Naren is that because he was there the longest, Doomig also therefore had some limited access to Vizelkis' thoughts. And it also occurs to you that this is a pretty extraordinary individual who was able to maintain all of this, even though it obviously cost him quite a bit. But he is the last survivor, of course, of the original keepers.
As we're walking,
yeah,
Jaraxxus is gonna go up to Nihilestri and say, I'm not sure how much of that you overheard.
I heard some. I did not know his name, but when things were worst, there were times where his face appeared, and the burden seemed to lessen.
He says that your Primarch has been directly misled by the creature that was here.
And she says, I am not surprised. The power of this thing was great. I would have been destroyed in a couple of months. Is Ustrika... Was she killed?
No. In fact, I think we did have to subdue her, but she came to her senses. She's waiting eagerly for us to come back, hopefully with you.
We wouldn't have been able to find you without her help.
She nods slowly and she says, Mavra. Have you spoken to Mavra? Now, quick note for the two new folks who may be like, who the hell is Mavra?
And also for us who haven't, many months have passed.
As a reminder, Mavra is Nyalestri's dearest friend. And
Elu's sister.
Yes. That is right. Mavra Whisperwind. And remember...
Yes, and almost got obliterated.
Yes.
Too.
That's right. And remember also, so basically, just to kind of summarize quickly, Mavra is, as they say, the sister of Elu Whisperwind, who is the one who brought Nals and Jaraxxus down here in the first place. And those two sisters' mother, Levia Whisperwind, is currently, supposedly, speaking to the Primarch as we speak about getting assistance for the crew, which came down here for some help, basically, and to tell them about what's going on up top, and in Jaraxxus's case, trying to gather information about how to fix their ship and why there's this beacon that's going off on the planet. So, that's the connection with all these people, basically.
Yes, we met her, and she actually reunited with her family, I think. She's helping us too.
And Nyalestri says, that's good. We have to speak to her and her mother, Lady Levia. They must be warned, and the Primarch must be warned, or told, or watched. And she has this confused look on her face.
Well,
the sanctum,
we'll see.
The sanctum can heal us. The sanctum of spirits, where we came from. And you remember the sanctum of spirits is where the spirit callers basically hung out with Ustrika and the rest of them.
We'll see how the city receives us then.
Does anyone else, I want to make sure I check in with everybody else, before you get to the surface as you're being walked back through these passages, and again, for the benefit of Sataria and Raven, these passages are ones that Jaraxxus and Nals had a map to that had been given to them by Ustrika, who basically knew from visions and so on about what had happened while she had been under the possession of Fizelkis. So while you were walking your way back up to the surface where allegedly Ustrika and others are waiting.
Really quick question, though.
Yeah.
There were those guards we dealt with that were at that table.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Are they still there, or has something happened to them?
That's exactly what I was going to mention. Yes. So before I get to that, though, just a quick note: whether any of the four of you have anything you're thinking about that you want to bring up or mention. I don't want to rush past stuff for no reason, but I also want to move things forward a little bit, just so we continue forward momentum. But if there's something that you want to talk about with each other or anything else, you will have a chance to do that as well during this next section also. But just if there's anything like, while we're in this dangerous hallway, I wanted to say, you could do that as well. And then I'll talk about those guards in a second also.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Sean.
Okay. Oops. Sorry, forgot about that. I think Raven, when all this is happening, Raven is going to come alongside Dr. Jaraxxus and basically ask, who are these people and why were they captured?
I have my own questions of you. But we are in a settlement underground on a planet of its own. There are elves down here who were worshipping a false idol. It was that darkness, that creature we killed. And in the months leading up to this, many of their people, the acolytes of the religion, as they ascended to become spirit callers, speakers to this false idol, they disappeared. And, well, you saw what happened to them. So this creature that we destroyed, it was like a parasite on this city. But the truth that we're going to have to reckon with, or I guess rightly so, they will have to reckon with, because none of us are from here, is what happens to their religion now. It was based on a lie that was eating away at their own people.
So Raven is going to basically be in thought at this. And then she nods and say, so we are protecting them. We are bringing them back to safety, yes?
Yes.
Very well.
May
Well,
I ask you something?
you may ask. I don't know if I will answer, but you may certainly ask.
You'd said something about the Lorendi when you first appeared. I don't know much about them, but they are a culture of the Eldori, right?
Yes, that's true.
You seemed a bit on edge ever since you got here. Was there something going on right before you arrived, or is that just how you are?
Let me ask you a question, Doctor.
It's typically not how questions work, but fine, go ahead. Okay.
Are there any hint or presence of Lorendi in this world?
No, there is, aside from these strange ruins, there's very little of what you and I would know of the Silraynark here. It's, I'm not sure it's even been touched by anything that you and I would know. The Sim, the Dendus, the Eldori, the Bellare even. None of it. I don't have connection here. That should be enough to tell you. Between you and me, do you realize the reach that I had in the Silraynark? I was known in almost every star sector. You realize I'm probably losing anywhere from a couple tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of followers and potential followers? Which I know it's, we're here saving people who were being tortured, but that is my living. Sorry, you didn't ask, but...
It is quite all right. I unfortunately have a very different opinion, but I will keep it to myself.
Opinion about me?
Well...
Oh, I'm all about that. I'd love to hear opinions about me. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
So for the first time, she laughs. So, I see. I see. I do not think you need to worry about the Lorendi. If this is a planet that is untouched by them, then there may be some hope after all.
Well, that's good for both of us, then?
It's good for you. For me, It is penance. I will
see.
join you in your endeavor to help care for these elves.
For what it's worth, I'm also trying to find my way back home, of course. But the ship we arrived in was in no condition to fly, so I still have not gotten a single source of sorium the entire time I've been down here. Not even to make another drone, let alone fly a ship. So we have a ways to go, but
it is just as well. If what you say is right, then there is only one Lorendi here in this entire planet. And I would prefer to keep it that way.
I see. Strange. I like it. And we keep walking, I guess.
I want to point out that we've added in chat the command, I love to hear opinions about me. It's one of my favorite hobbies. You can get that under Jaraxxus. It's the best. Okay. Thank you, Triffid. That's an awesome new command. Well worthy of it. Okay. Oh, and actually, all right, chat. This is not a tangent. I just want to bring up, as you're doing this, so I mentioned that we have new emotes coming to the channel, thanks to the amazing Tari Tunes. And I did want you all to see Arvin E Flex. That is our newest one. It is a swole Fifi, as you can see, pumping it up. So if you ever see anything in chat with any of our players that involves people being super strong, that is your little sneak preview. We've got 5 or 6 more on the way for subscriptions, but Arvin E Flex, if you've ever wanted to be strong like a strong phoenix, then definitely pick this up. Sorry. I was reminded of that when you said it. So great work from Tari, and there's more where that came from. Anyway, okay. One question for Sataria before we talk about what happens up top. As you're on your way up, you've obviously heard some references to some of the things. I guess my question would be, you certainly have done some studying of sort of magic and some of the intersections of Magitech and things like that in your studies. Do you think it's possible that Sataria would have heard about something like Vidanost and the Sanctuary from hundreds of years ago? Is that something? And I'm asking you because I don't know whether that's something you think she would have studied or
not. I bet it would have taken her a while to retrieve it, because it's the sort of thing she could well have encountered, but she wouldn't have retained it. But then, with enough percolation time, then it would come up, because it's not something that interests her specifically.
Right.
But I could well see her have encountered it. And, once you get to studying, a lot of stuff does sort of stay in there, kind of.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Okay. That's what I imagined. So, but again, it's one of those oh my God, I read about that in my 101 whatchamacallit graduate study early on type of, Yeah. Okay. So, but certainly not something that you would have imagined as a going concern as far as those people were destroyed. Okay. So something to think about then. As you are all making your way to the surface, when you exit the area, you find first of all, the guards that I wanted to mention, Knowles, because as you go into that room, you do see the guards that you had previously snuck past. But as you walk in, so the guards, first of all, look at you just sort of thunderstruck, because the guards, remember, were ones that were sort of protecting people from entering a forbidden zone and whatever. And then they see behind you this trailing group of 60 people that you're leading out of the of this area, and they just kind of their eyes widen and they literally are silent. They just sort of step back as this crowd of people kind of shuffle past, some helping each other, some walking slowly but on their own 2 feet past. So they do not mark your passage back with anything other than astonishment, I think might be the way to describe it, Knowles. Maybe these people were designed to prevent people from going in, certainly not expecting people to come out, might be the best way to put it.
As we pass, I think Jaraxxus will just mention to the guards as we're walking by, they were playing a card game or some sort of game where they were using coins.
Yes.
And that part of how I think we got past them is that we use
Yep.
the poisoned coins that we have.
Yep.
So Jaraxxus, as we're walking by with this, this group of saved people, will just say, "I'd be careful with some of those coins if I were you, and don't be gambling on the job next time."
And they kind of stare down, and you can see that they clearly had not reached in to get the coins yet, and so they're just like, they've been talking about something else, doing other stuff. So they're kind of looking at the bag and looking back at you, and they just give you this sort of stunned look as you pass by. Although you can see one of them kind of like pushes the bag over, like pushes the stuff over on top of the coins, so as not to touch them. Okay. So when you make your way out, I'm going to come up here because I think here is where I have some of my other pictures. You are greeted by this. This is Ustrika. And Ustrika, who has been waiting for you, as she sees you, her eyes kind of also like the guards widen, and she says, "You've returned. You..." And then she sees behind just the stream of people. And she just kind of like almost sort of staggers back, and they're here. Now, some of the people, when they see Ustrika, kind of recoil, and she says, "I'm sorry, it wasn't me. I swear it was not me. On the Ascendant himself, I swear. He was controlling me too." And you see a few kind of like nod or give her weird looks. They don't recoil anymore. And standing next to Ustrika, of course, is dun 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 dun. Let me get rid of a lot of people on the screen. Hold on, move out of the way, Doomig. There we go. And that, of course, is Mavra Whisperwind, who, when she sees Nyalestri, gives a cry, and the two sort of Mavra quickly and Nyalestri kind of stumbling forward embrace each other. And Mavra says, "You saved all of them." And Doomig, who's bringing up the rear, like literally trailed just behind him by Gamork, Doomig says, "Not all of them, my lady. Not all of them." So Ustrika and Mavra offer, this is up to the party if you want to do this, but they offer to bring you to the Sanctum of Spirits to heal. And they also, Mavra tells you, that her mother also has asked you to come as soon as may be to the Palace of the Primarchs, because apparently they wish to see you. So it's up to what the party wants to do from all that.
Well, before we do that, I'm pretty sure I left that sword that I got off of Ustrika here. So I would like to retrieve that and actually ask Doomig about it.
Okay. Right. And this was the sword that you got directly from Ustrika, you said, right?
Yeah, which
Okay.
after we defeated her, I looted it off of her.
Yes. Let me just double check and make sure. I figured that was true. I had a lot of equipment to manage, so hang on one second. This one.
Yeah, what I have written down, I just found it, is Ustrika's sword blade disperses into pure shadow. The hilt of her sword is impossibly cold. No leak takes it. That's all I have.
Yes, that's right. So, let's see. Let's run down to my handy dandy NPCs here. Okay, right. Right, so there we go. That's what I was looking for. Yes. So this Doomig looks at it and kind of frowns, and also before one pause about the ring. Having told you that, did anyone do anything with the ring once he told you what it is? That this thing is this ring of jumping? I didn't know if anyone wants to wear it. I will tell you the mechanical effect of it, which I can tell you now that Doomig has explained it, is you may cast the jump spell on you at will. So basically what it means is if you wear it, you can jump triple the normal amount that you could. But it only works on you. You can't transfer it to anybody else. So, if you want to slide it on, Gamork's right ear so that he can jump. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no. That would be very hard to do. Although it'd be funny, but all right, 40 feet. Let's
Stop recommending these awesome things.
Yeah.
And then say
I'm not going to do that.
Do you guys know about this wolf that holds a sword in its mouth? You can't do that. You can put it on your wolf. Sorry, you can't.
Sorry, my bad. I keep thinking of silly things. You're like, but that's also awesome. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm awesome. I apologize. No, it is really not meant to be. It can't be worn by a wolf. It does have to be worn by a vaguely humanoid creature. So one of the four of you could wear it. You could, I guess, give it to an NPC if you wanted. That's not a wolf. But that's the mechanical effect of that ring. So before I talk about the sword, I wanted to ask about that.
There's no NPC that I would want to give it to. There's no
as much.
Is it?
It's going to be kind of a niche item that I'm not really sure it's best in anyone's particular hands. So just go to anyone. I think Sataria is the keep.
Sataria has it.
Of it.
I was assuming maybe she would put it on unless somebody took it from her, just because, like, why not? Spells are cool.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, you'll be able to jump at any moment, whenever you wish, Sataria. Okay. So as far as the sword is concerned, Doomink sort of frowns and he says, yes. It is a blade of some power. And if you can control it, it has value. But there are risks. It is, it's called a shadow scimitar. At least that's what we named it. It has the ability to harm creatures of shadow. Creatures that phase from one place or environment or plane of existence to another. There is a risk, though. If you wield it, there is a small chance that you yourself may slip into the realm of shadow. I saw it being used by some of the Caridin, or by those they chose to work for them. So
Now,
the mechanical effect of this, I'll tell you, Knowles, is that it's a +1 weapon. It does a mixture of usual scimitar damage, which I'd have to look and see. I think that's 1d8 plus your strength, so basically 1d8 plus whatever the your modifier is, in slashing and necrotic damage. Not double, but I'm saying it's both types of damage included in that. So, but there is a risk mechanically that you have to, whenever you wield it in combat, you have to roll a percentage die. If you roll a certain percentage, which I'm not going to tell you, you may be affected adversely, he said.
Well, my question for him is, you spoke of some training that kept you alive. Would that training also work with this scimitar?
Even if it did, I would not wield it. I have had enough of the realm of shadows to last me most of what is left of my lifetime.
So just really a quick question.
Sure.
Because Knowles is kind of shadowy herself. Would she have any countering to negative effects at all?
Probably not, because it only sort of is manifested erratically, Knowles. So there are things to say. That's a good use of the Knowles quote. So it's used erratically, by which I mean you can't defend yourself against something which may, at any moment while it's being wielded, sort of do its effects. Once it has this adverse effect that I can't tell you about yet, maybe you could resist whatever that adverse effect is. That's one of those trial and error, and I don't know if you want the error. But you could certainly go through the trial. And it does have effectiveness against shadow creatures, which has value, obviously.
Well, but Knowles could carry it, but
oh, of course,
it's
yeah,
only if she uses it.
Correct, that's right. As long as you're carrying it and it's sheathed or whatever, it doesn't have this effect. It's when it's being actively used in combat. So that is what he describes it to you. Which I guess I should ask, is there, I'm just going to say, make a note to myself about that. Let's see. Okay, good. Sorry, just making a note while being right. Are you then going to hold on to it then, Knowles, for now, albeit
Oh,
sheathed?
sure, I'll hold on to it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Given that, are the rest of you going to agree to this, go to this shadow of, I should say shadow, too much shadow, Sanctum of Spirits, which is where the spirit colors originally came from?
Before that happens, Raven is going to go to, go to the dwarf?
Yeah, sure, you can go to Doomig.
And basically say, I do not know this land of yours, but I helped defeat some of the creatures when I first came here. And I came across this, and she pulls out the diamond. And what would this be?
And he sort of looks at it, and his face is somewhat grim again, and he says, that is itself a kind of prison. It is also a source of energy. It is what was used to power the machine, the Chronicler, although when we used it, it did not have the sort of evil purpose that it has now. Inside that gem is a mote of elemental energy. We call it an elemental gem. At the moment, it serves as that source of energy. But if you were to shatter it, that creature, the energy within it would be freed, and you would have, for a very short period of time, a servant. So what this is, Raven, apparently is this elemental gem, and it is a yellow gem which contains within it an earth elemental. If you shatter it, the what happens in that environment is it works like a conjure elemental spell works. And so what that means is that for the time that you have it, which is up to an hour, if you concentrate on it, you get an earth elemental which will serve you. Now, quick note, that is a 5th level spell. An earth elemental is exceedingly powerful. So this is one of those almost literally, in case of emergency, break glass items, right? If you're like, we're in big trouble, could do worse than to have an earth elemental. But once it's gone at the end of that hour, that's it, and the gem is obviously shattered, so you can't get it back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice little, we're in trouble type of support.
I see. So she thinks about it, like, thank you. Thank you very much. I will figure out what to do with this.
And he says, also, he says, be careful. Once you have summoned it, it will serve you for an hour and then dissipate into the elements from which it came and be freed. Before that time, though, if your concentration is broken, it will become hostile towards you. So, have a care when it is under your control.
Understood. And so she decides to go, so then Raven goes and tells the others and gives a very pointed look at Gormak as she does so.
At Gamork, you mean?
At Gamork,
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, Gormak, where did I put him? Okay, yeah, Gamork. And Gamork kind of, so now, of course, he doesn't, the speak with animals is all gone and all that, so he's just, and kind of just, as you're speaking, occasionally now, as a reminder, Gamork, of course, is sightless, and so but senses around him. And so he just sort of, as you're speaking, kind of a low, continual growl. In fairness, Raven, you have noticed that Gamork spends much of his natural life in a low growl towards something or other, so it may not be unique to you, however.
No,
it is the case. Yeah.
It keeps me on my toes.
Yes. Okay. So, at the Sanctum of Spirits, I'm going to tell everyone that you are going to get the benefit here of what is a long rest. Even though you have long rested before, this is different. So you're going to basically restore yourself to full, is what I'm saying. So also, and again, we won't have to worry about this time, but by next time, I want to make sure that everyone, as I mentioned before, has leveled themselves up to level 5. But in the meantime, just now you can go to whatever your maximum hit points are for that. You can restore all your spells, et cetera, et cetera. Also, sorry. Sorry. So Ustrika also rewards each of you with 100 gold pieces in addition. For rescuing, basically, each of these survivors. And you see countless, sort of reunion celebrations that are played out the same way. Families greeting those who came from them, children running up to their parents that were lost. In one case, several parents, running up to their older teenage but still teenage children, and so forth. The overwhelming majority of these people were, in fact, spirit callers, as you theorized. But there were a couple who were sort of one or two that were adventurers that were Twilight Elves that had tried to find them and couldn't, and then got taken in. And, of course, Dumig, who is the one that stands apart from sort of all of them. Then you are asked to head to the Palace of the Primarchs. And the person who does that is a very familiar character who comes up to you, flits around Nialestri, is like, yay! And that's Rel, who is the sprite caretaker of Whisperwind Manor, that, of course, Jaraxxus and Knowles is very familiar with. And Rel says, you need to come to the palace. This is so exciting. You've all done a wonderful job. Who are these people? What happened to Titus and Fob? Why? Who? I'm Rel. I'm the caretaker. I help the Whisperwinds. These are wonderful people. Also, I'm so happy that you found... do you want to go to... She seems very scattered, even more scattered than normal, which is, saying something. But yeah. So she's flitting about all of you. But you're being asked to go to the palace, and you can go when you wish. If you want to sort of, chat with Rel first, you can do that, or head over. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think Jaraxxus will take the time to explain what happened, and he'll even show with his recording unit. He'll show some clips of what transpired and Titus and Fob's disappearance and who these new people are.
She shivers at the appropriate times as well, and kind of. She said that things here have been crazy. Lady Levia is going to be addressing the council, and yes. And she sort of shakes her head and she says, I'm glad. I'm truly glad. Mavra and Naya being together is just... And she shakes her head again and she says, I know there are some that didn't make it, but I'm glad that they're here. And then she sees Dumig, who's sort of, standing apart, and she says, who are you? And Dumig says... My name is Dumig Rieger, and you, I see, are a sprite. You know the Whisperwinds. That's good. And she nods and kind of looks at all of you and then says, so are the two of you... She flitters up to Sataria and then to Raven. You're joining the others here? I mean, it's good to see you. I don't know you except your names now, but are you going to join them and help? I mean, perhaps we can help you, or they can. I mean, I can't, but they can help you. Really? Are you? It's always hard to tell if she's in the midst of a statement or a question.
Well, apparently I'm needed. So, and I still think I can parlay this into class credit. So I'll come along for now. I mean, it's a nice break from all the studying.
Raven looks more reserved
Mm-hmm.
and more, perhaps just a tiny bit overwhelmed.
Rel does that, by the way, on her own, is a little overwhelming, just by definition. And she, so she says, all right. Well, the council's going to start. We should go to if you're rested. I mean, but the council, if you're gonna, I mean, and she's kind of flitting back and forth, to the door and back again, which is literally Rel and not the game master, to be clear. That is not proxy for me being like, hurry up. I'm not doing that. I'm literally just mentioning what it is that Rel's doing. But you are healed apparently at this sanctum. Also, I will say that Ustrika and Mavra and Doomig have are all going to accompany, because for all different reasons, like Ustrika, because Ustrika needs to explain a little bit of what happened. They have been summoned, basically, is what I'm saying. And Doomig wants to come along because Doomig has told you he thinks he knows the threat, that everybody faces. So.
Yeah. I'm not sure we have much else to do other than, what's the term? Hear the music? Maybe.
Face the music, maybe?
Right. Why? What does it mean to face music? I never got it.
It's dealing with the consequences.
Of music? Oh, my ears. Yes, I'm interested in what will happen. We did just get a bunch of gold, so maybe some shopping is in our future. But we should probably go see what has happened.
I don't know anything about anything, so I'm just gonna follow where the people who know what's going on are going.
All right.
I'm sure Levia and Ella want to hear what we've been up to.
Raven is going to stare up into the sky with a brooding look on her face, and then clenches her fist determinedly and say, if it must be, then it must be. And then she squares herself and follows after the others.
Okay. So,
A most emo.
yeah, no, I know. I was expecting that there'd be some Evanescence playing in the background. I can't wake up. Wake me up inside. I can't.
No, it's more her. This is a new start. This is a new life. But it's not what I would have selected, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, hi, Tom. Okay. So, you are led to the palace then, and I will say that the palace, the Primarchs, is located at the center of the district, across this decorative stone bridge, which is multicolored and sort of shimmers as much of Celis does when you look in it. And I will say to both Raven and Sataria, since you haven't been in this place before, Celis itself is very much, think of a lot of, actually, a little bit like my office right now, a lot of purples and blues. It's quite sort of dimly lit. There are a lot of almost what look like large mushrooms, luminescent mushrooms that you can see on the pathways. But up above, in what is clearly a massive cavern, above in that cavern, you can see what looks like the twinkling of stars. It can't be, obviously, you're indoors clearly, but it's an extraordinary sight. And sort of almost overwhelming in the way that Raven mentioned before. There's a lot of that going on. And the outer wall of the Palace of the Primarchs is, which is massive, sports columns and carvings of this bright stonework that is decorated with silver and green and gold inlays. And a translucent ring of glowing runes spins about the top of each of the 4 side towers, with one shining brighter than the others. And it's that one that's shining brighter, the side towers, that you're sort of moved to in the general direction. When you come up to the main hall, which is this 20-foot tall arched double door, there are no fewer than 8 heavily armored people outside of it. There are 4 knights. You can see like the guards that Nulls, you and Jaraxxus encountered when you first came in, except like these people are like, yeah, they're clearly we are the tanks of the guards, right? Like they are super heavily armored, and next to them 2 robed figures, and you can almost, Sataria, you could almost, like, without even making an Arcana check, you've seen people like this. Like the magic is just like, you can smell it, right? It's just breathing off of them. These are 2 very powerful mages, obviously, and then next to them 2 also armored figures with 2 massive tower shields. Just like, this is very much the no one gets in here without, type of thing. And 2 of the non-shield-bearing armored figures approach. And Rel, who is flitting along in front of you, says, "These are representatives of the Whisper Wind House. That they're here. Lady Levia sent them. That they're here. I brought them. I'm Rel. I work. They're supposed to let us in." And at that point, Mavra, who's kind of walking along, is like, "That's Rel. It's all right. We are here," and the guards sort of bow slightly, and "We were told to expect your arrival. Come in, please. Things are moving quickly." And I'm going to slide us back over to the cams only area because I have a picture of what it is that you see. So let me scroll up to that area. Right up there. The stuff. Okay, there we go. So, okay, and again, I'm going to be putting this on stream. Paste, crop, save as, there. Okay, I'll be putting this on stream right now, he said, doubtfully. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to put that right in the center. Or actually underneath for the moment, over chat. I beg your pardon, chat, for just a moment. The central chamber opens from a grand archway between polished stone columns, and there's a vaulted ceiling which carries the echoes of the many voices inside. Lady Levia Whisperwind, who not recognized by Sataria and Raven, but definitely recognized by Nulls and Jaraxxus, who of course have met her, is standing at the center atop a raised platform. And before her, a tall, slender fae with golden skin and fiery red hair sits upon a bramble throne. And there's a lot of sort of murmuring as you're walking in. And when you come in, there's a, "What is this piece of people that saved the spirit callers?" And there's like a lot of whispering as people see you going by. And I would like everyone to make a perception check for me, please.
It's not rolling very well today.
What have we got? Let's see. We have got a... okay, we have a 10. I think that is from... is that a 10, Raven, or something else? Is that... Because you got the plus, right? You have an 11, right? I think you said like plus 1.
I haven't rolled yet.
Oh, you haven't. This is the previous one. Okay, so Tataria got a 10. Okay.
Yep.
Jaraxxus has got an 18.
I have too many windows open.
I know. Oh, man, do I know the feel. Same, Raven, same. Nulls has got a 23. Okay. We'll just wait to see what we get from Raven.
I'll just do this old school. 5.
Okay. So Sataria and Raven, perhaps sort of taken aback by everything that's like they've never seen any of this before, possibly is part of it. But Nulls and Jaraxxus, you do hear the very last part of what clearly was a speech from Levia, saying, "And we've isolated ourselves," sorry, there's a little bit of an echo, And we've isolated ourselves for so long, we have become blind to the pervading evils surrounding us. And then she sees you, the crowd, the hall quiets after a bunch of whispering. And she gestures to you and she says, "These are the ones who resisted the cultist, and saved my daughter's life, and rescued Celis's missing citizens." And she looks at all of you and she says, "The Primarchs would like to hear from you directly, but we cannot have you speak to the Ascendant. A few hours ago, he suffered a massive psychic trauma. We don't know why. He is catatonic and being treated. And Tulafal here," and she motions to the person on the throne, "is the next in line to serve as Ascendant." And Tulafal nods gravely, and Tulafal says, "You are welcome. We must hear from you. The council has much to discuss, and you are at the center of what we must know." And that is where we're going to bring things to a close for tonight. We will begin in our next session with the council meeting itself. By the way, Chapter 5, which you will be going into, is called Return to the Barrier Peaks. And that's the next section that's going to be happening. So,
And we're level 5 now?
and you are now officially and totally level 5. So
Just
Yeah.
a really quick question about the level peaks. Is that where that? Because remember, I have the bagpipes,
mhm.
and the guy that I bought the bagpipes from wanted me to see if I could bust up the crystal.
Yes, right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Is-
Do you want to
can I
break
keep
out the
that?
bagpipes right now and be like, before the council meets, boo! You know, they like do it.
But wait, I thought, but it was like on the other side of something, so I can't do it yet.
Right. You
That
can't do
crystal
it yet.
formation.
No, I was
Yeah.
joking, but I was just saying it's kind of a. I just had this image of you being like, I hear what you're laying down, but first I have to talk about. I want to play this little tune. Exactly, Trivet. First, a little number.
Oh my God.
Yes, but that's true. So, and of course, you're not at the Barrier Peaks yet, but presumably that is maybe where they're going to send you as things are starting to slightly coalesce. Also, chat, we got to see the nature of some of this threat, which is terrifying. This group of psychically evil creatures that are trying to break through into this realm. I'm sure it wasn't lost on the party when Durmik is like, yeah, and it might even affect people outside, above, like they might be affected too. And I can imagine like those of you who are here for a while being like, oh God. So anyway, that's gonna be great. Super psychically powerful creatures. What could go wrong? Yeah, hatchlings, exactly, Tom, exactly. But I'm very, very excited to see what happens in this chapter because there's going to be so much badass stuff that happens. I will also let the party know for their own benefit that they will be getting a little bit of equipment reward as well before they head off on this journey, just so you know. So you've gotten a couple of magical items already. You did get this ring of jumping. You got this shadow scimitar if you choose to use it. But I am very curious to see how things proceed. It's going to be great. And good work from the party in general handling it. I love that visual image of the pods opening up and all of you there. I also want to say a separate note, LaShawn, I loved Raven sort of being slightly separate from and watching these people from a distance and being like, I don't know what to do about all of this. So the fact that you were the one that was there when Nihilestri is like sort of like, going on about like this stuff that's happening and whatever. I for some reason I appreciated that visual image of you just having arrived yourself in this place recently. So that was cool. Anyway, I will start with Zach bottom right. Excellent work today from Dr. Jaraxis. I love the fact that you can replay some of these recordings and images. I also really like the interaction with you and Raven. First of all, very funny about the whole like, oh, I'd like to hear more people talk about me. It's my favorite hobby. So that was great. But also the fact that, again, what I love about this campaign, besides the players, is the fact that there are these intersections continually in different groupings. Null's having connected with Gamork, something I hadn't expected but works really well. Null's also being able to be uncertain of whether to trust Raven, but having a certain connection on there also. Jaraxxus has made some connections with Sataria and the healing, and Jaraxxus also has been connecting in this case with Raven and being able to say a little bit about like, well, and who are you and the Lorendi, something which wouldn't make a lot of sense to Nulls or Sataria, but obviously makes sense to both of you. So that's interesting, and that's another sort of line that's being built among these characters that I really appreciated. And maybe you're going to get a little closer to the information you seek, which is how do you fix your ship, and also what about that beacon? So there's all that stuff going on. How'd you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
Yeah, today was great. Lots of good RP and some funny moments, some serious moments, lots of good lore. And I'm excited too to see how we all kind of settle into the new crew, and also as we're kind of finishing here in Celes, figuring out what's next and where to go and what to do and getting more powerful. And yeah, it's exciting. And I really enjoy the building of the relationships and dynamics between our characters. I think that's really great. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the future has in store for us, and what other adventures we might have. So people will find me here for this, of course, and then also for the Our Vocalists, which is our monthly show on this channel where we voice act text-based video games. Right now we're finishing Growing Up, and then we're going to be going to Citizen Sleeper 2, which is going to be great.
Yeah.
And that's great. Also, we have our podcast, Gen GMs, that we've been working on that you can check out. And then aside from that, you'll find me on my own channel. I have gotten back into a weekly streaming schedule. And essentially what I focus on in my community is highlighting the roleplay communities in World of Warcraft and Minecraft. A lot of people here on Twitch are familiar with like GTA roleplay and Red Dead Redemption roleplay, where people voice their characters in these video games. But World of Warcraft and Minecraft are all text-based. And so actually very similar to the Our Vocalists, I will go in and voice people's characters and showcase their cool art and designs and things like that. And it's a niche that hasn't really been covered in those communities, so I'm happy to do it. So you'll find me there at twitch.tv/ZachClay, there in chat, and otherwise in other places on an internet near you. Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks, Zach. And you will see also more of Zach in a couple of months when we do our finale for Hearthglow. Hopefully
right.
some of you will see Zach in person. I will. So, but anyway, always a pleasure to have Zach with us. As I said, LaShawn, really enjoying the development of Raven. I like the idea that there's obviously something that's kind of a moral core that is motivating Raven, but Raven is also like, I'm not just going to tell you the moral core. Like, I will decide the things that have, over time I will reveal this stuff, which completely makes sense. And Raven's sort of having to kind of go with the flow at the same time as managing and maintaining a certain level of caution feels very authentic and interesting to me also. And I am super curious to see how that kind of builds out over the course of time, and the relationships with, as I said, Jaraxxus we had some of today, we had Nulls earlier. Since you are one of the two new people that appeared along with Sataria, that's going to be interesting if any of that comes, to fruition. Like, how does it feel to be one of the two new people that just showed up here in the middle of a dungeon type of thing? So there's that too. But I'm very curious to see how that develops over time, and to see what cool new stuff you can do too as levels increase. How did you feel about today, and where will the folks find you next?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting a good handle on who Raven is, and yeah, I usually tend to play more upbeat characters, and with Raven's very interesting, and almost, yeah, I love playing her, and I am looking forward to see how she develops over the next few games, and how she adjusts to being on this planet and all that. So
yep,
it'll be fun. People can find me. They can find me on Facebook. they can also find me in Blue Sky, be it yeah, I see that my thing's being shown.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a Patreon, I have a newsletter, yeah, and that's basically it for now.
Thanks, LaShawn. Great stuff as always. Pleasure, and look forward to seeing you again next month. Toya, great work as always from Knowles. As always, it is a great pleasure to be able to play off of Knowles from the Gamork perspective. That's always a ton of fun. And also, the other thing is I was interested to see, because again, you had this interaction, Knowles had this interaction with all of the rune-shaped walls, and you were the one initially that were like, can I interact with them? Can I like you were the one first who was really intrigued by the existence of these walls and what could be done with them or not, as they sort of are vaguely in the dream universe. And now you're getting a sense of, well, this was a nightmare universe, and your use of that term, I think, was quite accurate from the perspective of the people that went through it. So I say all that to say that I can imagine this thing of trying to explain to people why their religion isn't what they thought it was. I can imagine Knowles having a component of being part of explaining that as sort of someone who can bridge that gap between the world of the unseen and seen, let us say. And also the little bit of the, as I said, the suspicion with Raven, I think is interesting, was also interesting to see as a part of Knowles' character as well. How did you feel about today's session, and where will the lovely folks find you next?
Yeah, Raven is interesting because the way I'm sensing and perceiving things is Raven is still trying to figure out who she is anyway. And now she has been thrust in a completely unknown situation at the same time. So it's not just, where am I? How much am I going to trust everybody else? It's also, how much do I trust myself? And, who am I in all of this anyway? So that's very, very interesting, especially at the end where Raven decides to show Dumig the diamond, and Raven doesn't know that Knowles knew that she took the diamond.
So, that's true. I should have cut to you to see if you were like, if Knowles was like, like stuck camera, like dramatic, staring at it.
But also, I thought it was interesting because Gamork said something like, you're always following. That wasn't the exact wordage, but basically, when are you going to take the lead? Like a alpha dog saying that,
which is typical
to someone
Gamork.
else, right? But it was interesting to me that Gamork would say that to Knowles, because Gamork has never implied anything like that before, which to me says, how is Gamork seeing that relationship and how it's evolving? Because Gamork oftentimes is like, I don't care about any of you. But that's clearly not true.
Right.
Gamork cares a great deal about everybody. Maybe not so much Teteria and Raven, but, that will change, I'm assuming. But, Gamork has a lot of insights that he's not sharing. And of course, he has to have this bluster and, rough exterior that he does not care. So I'm interested in what exact insights Gamork saw into Knowles that, has not been shared yet. And I'm surprised in a way that the whole encounter with Veselkus ended so quickly. I think that's because of how we played things. And clearly, if Knowles had the Shadow Scimitar, like, who knows if Knowles would actually try to use the Shadow Scimitar on those Shadow NPCs, because she would have no idea that it was a Shadow Scimitar. But who knows what would have happened. So that's very interesting. I wonder, I'm always wondering, how would things have played out differently? I think things could have gone a lot worse than they did. But also,
narrator
like,
voice,
things
yes.
things went badly. We almost lost Gamork, but like 2 people didn't get injured at all, which is just insane if you think about it.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm also interested now. Yes, we have allies who are at this council meeting. There are also a bunch of people who do not know us at all, and at the same time, like Knowles said, their world is about to undergo catastrophic upheaval, cataclysmic upheaval, because everything they knew is a complete lie. And already one dude, because of his bond with Veselkus, has undergone, how do they put it, psychic trauma. So that's going to be interesting, because not everybody is going to be so receptive to what is being said.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to how we try to present them with this information, from complete strangers to the Twilight Elves who were kidnapped to Doomig. So, and where will I be? I will be right here. I lurk on the internet. I'm not very active on the internet, but if you are interested in my work, you should go to schnoodlemedia.com. I am an editor. I like editing things. I'm also a game writer, game designer, narrative designer. I also do consulting. So yes, you would like for me to do stuff for you and pay for it, schnoodlemedia.com is where you can find me.
Good stuff. And you should do that, as I've said many times. Toya's super smart, super capable, and you should absolutely get all of her stuff. Thanks, Toya. Great stuff. And Rhiannon, great stuff as well. I loved the image, by the way, or the impression of Sataria feeling like she wants to be useful and feeling the need to be useful. Obviously, the class credit thing is kind of a continual running gag, which I think is funny. But beyond that, there is this notion of there's almost there's an impulse to it, like a real need to not just feel as if they're off to the side and they're not helping. And that's really interesting to me, because obviously you're in a place where you're going to be extremely helpful all the time. But figuring out how to sort of establish yourself in a way that you'll be able to take that step and be of need to other people, and be of use to other people, I should say, be helpful all the time and have a purpose that you find going forward. That's going to be fascinating. Also, separately, I love the image of stacking up survivors like produce, but that was my, that was a separate thing. And also now you got a jumping ring too. You got a ring of jumping. So there's that also. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Oh, it's great. Coming to the choice point. We had one little sort of adventure, and then now we gotta, really commit.
Broadens that. Yep.
Yeah. And love the future influencer stuff.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, exactly. And especially because Sataria has no idea. So it's the sort of tension of I know, but she doesn't know. And folks can find me I'm on Blue Sky at Rhiannon Held, my website, rhiannonheld.com. That's got stuff about my books, urban fantasy, and then space opera. I'm on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel on Twitch, and then the Dungeon Scrawlers Discord. And I won't list all the various things that I'm on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel, because there's various, especially right now. But I will say, head to my website. It's coming up to the season for nominating stuff, and novelettes. They're kind of short, but they're kind of long. And do you even know that you read any the last year? So I got 2 of them. One of them made ever so much better by LaShawn's excellent editing. So if you would like to take a look at those, they're both free to read. And you can find them on my website, and maybe give them a bit of consideration.
Good call. Yes. As nomination season comes, I think we can all agree, all of us doing the author thing anyway, that please do nominate these things. Nominate early and often. But no, you should definitely read Rhiannon's stuff as well. And I've had a chance to lurk a little bit and watch a couple of Dungeon Scrawlers things too. And it's a good channel in general, but it's been fun to watch that also. So wonderful work today, crew. I cannot wait till next month. Chat, can we get some love for the awesome crew of Expedition for the Mysterious Peaks? Thank you as always to Rhiannon Held, to Toya Kristen Finley, to LaShawn M. Wannick, and to Zach Clay. Thanks so much, crew. I will see you folks next month. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
All right. And that is going to do it for that. Really, really, really enjoy this group a lot. As I say, every campaign I like in its own way. And this is just such a cool world. It's so much cool, there's so much cool stuff going on. I just love, love, love that kind of mashup stuff. I was talking to somebody the other day. I don't remember exactly who I was having this discussion with, but about how the idea of... Why is this hat? I love this hat, but it picks up dust too easily. That's the problem. There we go. But I was talking to someone the other day about how the old term slipstream, which I know Triffid and Prince Justin will be familiar with, this term slipstream, which is, supposed to be like a fantasy science fiction mashup, how in a lot of ways that's sort of outlived its usefulness, right? Because it just happens all the time now. Like it's not really a thing. You can do those mashups a lot more easily, and it doesn't get this sense of like, this is totally unheard of because we're mixing fantasy and science fiction. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, but it's like I used to call Icarus Slipstream. And it is kind of that, but I mean it's accurate, I guess. It's just that it feels like it's not. You don't need a separate term as much now. It's just the world, and in fact, it's one reason why there's clearly a distinction between very sword and sorcery, vaguely medieval Renaissance-ish style high fantasy. There's a difference between that and very science fiction-y lasers and robots and stuff like that. That's clearly true. Those are distinctive categories. But in another way, then you got like people with laser swords that are basically samurai and are ancient warriors, but also are, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the man who bridged the mist is Slipstream, sure. Which I teach in my fantasy fiction course. And yeah, like it just feels like there are numerous examples where that stuff is coming together in a way where I think speculative fiction, which is a great term, and I don't care. I heard someone say, oh, that's sort of pretentious. No, it's not. Speculative fiction is a great catch-all term to refer to the broad base of fantasy, science fiction, horror, and again, this sort of whatever we're talking about, Slipstream, because it's about the what if, right? And speculative is sort of dealing with that as well. So like, so I think I agree that Slipstream is not intuitively descriptive. So I like the idea that we have this category of speculative fiction that refers to this because they are all so different in some ways. And yet the genres now that we have, there's so much mixing that can happen and often happens that it's like just a thing. And no one is like, what? I don't understand. Why did you get your chocolate and my peanut butter? Everyone is just happy to be able to do stuff together. So it's very cool. I dig it. But having said all of that, I think that's going to do it for me. I have been playing around with the idea. I'm really trying to debate as to whether I should do this or not, because I'm thinking about, do I want to do any more Caves of Kood? I really do. Man, I am like 50-50 on whether I want to do some more tonight. I'm thinking about it. See what it is. Well, I think I will wait. I am tempted, very tempted, because I've really been having fun with that game, but I think I'm going to wait. Because I want to make sure that I get a little bit of work done tonight, and I don't want to be going to bed at some ungodly late hour. So, but I could see a scenario where there might be a possible bonus stream in our not too distant future. We'll see. I'll think about that. Either way, though, I am, of course, am going to be back in terms of scheduled streams on Tuesday. Get something to drink and come back. I'm tempted nonstop. I'm very tempted. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think so, though. I think I'm going to try to do this later, but. Nonetheless, I will be back definitely on Tuesday at noon Eastern with the chat chosen game of the month, which is Neva, which I hopefully will have learned how to pronounce by then. That is basically about a wolf and a girl. And I swear to God, if the wolf dies in the midst of this, I'm going to be deeply upset. I'm ready to be tearing up on stream, is what I'm saying. That'll be Tuesday, and then Tuesday evening, or Tuesday afternoon, really, I will be over on GOGcom's Twitch channel with Pen and Pixels doing more D&D of By the Dice Roll. So that is going to be that amazing crew playing Ghosts of Saltmarsh as that continues. Exactly. Hashtag does the wolf die. So that's going to be happening on Tuesday afternoons. That's very cool. And then I believe on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, although let me check this to be absolutely sure. I believe on Wednesday, he said, we do have, that's what I thought. Wednesday, we've got Community D&D, so we have Waterdeep, Dragon Heist, so they will be back with you. And then on Thursday the 30th, we have Caves of Kood, and then we will see. Now, Trifid is already hard at work on scheduling. February is going to be a very interesting month in terms of schedule because I've got a lot of conference travel, and there's a lot of stuff going on in general. So I'm going to be at Farpoint the second weekend of the month in Baltimore. Then I'm going to be at Boscone in Boston the week after that. Then the week after that, I'm going to be, Wednesday is going to be Community D&D. And then Thursday, at my normal streaming time, Thursday night, I'll be back for Caves of Kood. So I've got Farpoint, then I've got Boscone, then the week after that, which is President's Day weekend in the United States, we will have the storytelling event happening at St. John's, and that will be Brian Talwara and Marie Bilodeau and Brandon O'Brien. That is going to be open to the public, so if you are in the New York area, I'm going to be starting to advertise this in the beginning of February at some point, probably first or second week of February. I'm going to be starting to show the flyer around and broadcast it around. I would love to have people come. It's going to be a really awesome event. I'm really happy that my university is sponsoring it and is hosting it. So that's going to be happening. And there may be a couple of live streaming events happening with those people, just saying that could actually occur. So there's that. And then coming in either March or April, we have got the finale of Hearthglow happening as well. But just leading up to that point, there is going to be a lot of sort of, two conferences, then the storytelling event, and then things in quotes settle down for a little bit until we get to, I believe it is April or May, when I am going to be part of hold on a second as I look. In April or May, I am going to be part of where is it? I want to make sure I get the right date. Yes. Tuesday the 15th, I am going to be part of the Brooklyn Books and Booze reading, which is a fairly prominent speculative fiction series that happens here. It is a series that I have wanted to be a part of for a little while, so I'm excited that I get to do it, although I'll be skipping the whole booze part. But certainly the books part, and I'll be there for, beverages of another kind, ginger ale, root beer, that type of thing. So I'm going to be doing a reading there in April. And then, like I said, hopefully sometime around that time is when we'll also have the Hearthglow finale. And then we will be leading on into May. And of course, you all know that May is ArvCon. That's obviously a big deal around here on this channel. And then June will be pretty much off, I think, but then July, ReaderCon, I'm already confirmed for there. August, Gen Con, of course. I'm very excited for the symposium again. And then WorldCon, super pumped up about that. I'm going to be announcing more about my own role there, but I am I'm a panelist, and I'm also doing some other stuff associated with that WorldCon, so I will talk more about that as well. And there may be a specific event also that's happening that, speaking of live events that you might want to be around for if you were in the WorldCon area in August. And then we start the fall, September, and then October is CanCon. So, looks like a busy year ahead. I don't know why I just gave you all my entire schedule. Anyway, my real point was that the next month is going to be busy for travel. So we're going to be kind of, playing stuff by ear. We're going to get a lot of our stuff in anyway, because I'll be able to stream remotely at the very least from Farpoint. I don't know if I'll be streaming live from Boscone, but at the very least I'll be able to stream from Farpoint. So that's going to be fun. I am excited for all of that. But that is what's going to happen down the line. Now, however, we are going to wrap things up and say that if you liked what you saw and heard, I hope you will consider following the channel. I hope you will consider checking out our YouTube channel, and thank you for those of you who are hanging out over on YouTube today. That's !ArvTube. Please subscribe to me over there. It's free for you to do that, but it really does help us out, so please consider doing that. Twitter, thanks for the Java update notification windows. I'll take care of that later. Twitter first of all, Discord is !ArvCord. You can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter, !ArvTweets, for as long as I'm on that hell site, which is not going to be very much longer. Once we get up to a certain number on Blue Sky, then I'm definitely just going to be going all out to just Blue Sky and leaving Twitter behind, which is now a cesspool for the most part. But I'm keeping a presence on there until I get enough of a critical mass of followers on Blue Sky. We're getting there. We've definitely had a good increase over there. So !ArvSky is where I recommend you hang out with the other folks. That would be lovely to join me over on Blue Sky. Website for this, arvaneleron.com. You can find, again, that podcast I mentioned, Hearthglow, over there. And you can also find, oh my God, Blue Sky is the only sky worth flying, the friendly skies. What's up, Rob? Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. 66 months. My goodness. That is 5.5 years, people. 5.5 years of Tier 1 support. I appreciate that, Rob. Thanks so much. And by the way, Rob gets to enjoy these new emotes that we have, including the brand new one. We've got another 5 or 6 on the way, but we've got this one, Kapow. That's right. It is Arvin Flex. If you've ever wanted to see a Phoenix flexing, now you can do so if you were a sub to the channel. So definitely pick that up. Arvin Flex is now available. So I hope you folks enjoy. I'm very excited about that. The swole Fifi, yes. And that's just a coming attractions for more of the new emotes that we've got coming on down the line. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that, man. You should be following Rob anyway, because, you know, Rob's an awesome streamer, good guy. So as many gray shade whiskers as you do. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's true. I've got the, now I have just a little bit, right? Just a little. It's funny too, because my hair, you can't tell, there's a little bit of white in the side, but most of my hair is still blonde. Like, it's still very blonde, but down here it's still, when I was younger, it was very reddish. And now it's kind of done this. I've never minded this at all, because this I could always, if it really bothered me, I could always dye my hair. But I actually think it adds a certain, you know, little distinguished once it's trimmed. Once it gets crazy big and it starts looking like Tren's beard when he hasn't trimmed it, and he gets really frustrated and starts complaining he's so tired of how long it is until he shaves it. That it gets, when I never get as long as Tren's does, but when it gets a little bit on, I'm like, you know. Thank you, Rob. I feel like, I hope so. That's what I'd like to set up as well. And this hat, by the way, from Glasgow. Okay, I got this last year during one of my favorite trips of all time. So this hat is officially Glasgow. So it's got that kind of, you know, British flavor, I hope. But anyway, so yes, Discord ! Arvcord, Blue Sky ! Arvsky. Yeah. So on the financial side of things, I can't steal your heart. Really? You can't steal my hat, Thunder? Nah, that's fine. You got the curly hair thing going on. So you have no need of the hat, Thunder, in that context. It's funny though, when people see me, obviously I don't wear a hat when I'm teaching, and when people see me at conferences or conventions, and they're like people at conferences and conventions who know me from there know me as not wearing hats, and know me as wearing like generally vests and pocket watches, with occasional, like at night, if I'm hanging out with them in the bar or something, then I wear, you know, like a t-shirt or something like that. But like, they know me as like the vest pocket watch guy, right? And so when people who watch me on stream and see me wearing stuff like this and stuff like this, see me wearing that, they're like, what? Whereas people who are used to seeing me like that, see me like this, they're like, what are you doing? I didn't realize I had this very distinctive outfit thing going on, but apparently I do. Yeah. Oh no, 100%, man. I just need to get the elbow patches on the tweed jacket, you know, and then I'll be all set. My father used to wear a seersucker, like a seersucker, I think they call it, the deer hunter cap, like the Sherlock Holmes double-sided cap, you know, with the thing in front. And it was like, he was a professor, right? It was exactly the way that you would expect someone like that should look. It was very funny. But yeah, that was exactly the way that he used to look. It was funny. So anyway, where was I? So yes, Patreon, ! Arvtreon, that's sitting right there. Would love to see anyone support that if you possibly can. That is cool stuff. That maybe it's not seersucker. Then I'm thinking of deer hunter is what I'm thinking of as the cap, but they have a specific name for that double-sided cap. So, ! Arvtreon is the Patreon. You get cool stuff for yourself and cool stuff for the channel. Deer stalker, thank you. Not seersucker or deer hunter, deer stalker. Thank you. That's exactly what I meant. Thank you, Trippet. So yes, that Arvtreon. Definitely subscribe to the channel, as Rob was kind enough to do just now. You get those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch. And if you support at a high enough tier, you can get the Patreon support. You can also get inspirations to help our players. Same thing if you support the Patreon at a high enough tier. Thanks for great work as always, Prince Justin. Then let's see, that was the Patreon. Also subscribing, as I mentioned, on the publishing side of things, also ARV Shop, !ARV Shop for the merchandise area. Today I am wearing my Esper Genesis Crucible Core shirt, but at some point I want to make up a basically Expedition for the Mysterious Peaks shirt as well, because we did have some art that we were putting together at some point, so we'll see. I may add that at some point down the line. There is going to be some new merchandise coming relating to those new emotes at the very least, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. On the publishing side, Icarus, my graphic novel from Athos Arts. Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. And Greyshade, which is my Greyshade IP. Greyshade, Renegade, and Heretic are my Grey Assassin trilogy, award-winning, critically acclaimed. You can get those at that link from Athos Arts. You can also get the audiobook of Greyshade from our very own Trent Sparks at that link as well. And you can get also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade coming from our good friend Brandon O'Brien and the wonderful people at Alligator Alley who sponsor this campaign. That is coming out in the summer of this year, so you'll definitely want to pre-order that now. That game is going to be amazing. I cannot wait for you all to see it. It's going to be great. And as always, BLM, Black Lives Matter. Very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message we will do so for others in that situation in the future. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream tonight. Thank you to my wonderful mods. Thank you to Prince Justin. Thank you to Triffity Mats, the best mods in the business. Thank you as well to my wonderful Patreon supporters and subscribers. Thank you to Prince Justin, Triffity Mats, Darkside Rob, Nonstop, TomTom, and thank you so much to my wonderful viewers. Thank you to Betrader. Thank you to Dragon Spear, who was lurking in the background. Thank you to Elder Dorino. Thank you to Jagtress. Thank you to Lego Freak, who was also lurking in the background. Good to see all of you lovely folks who came and stopped in and popped in and left. Yes, thank you to Prince Justin for entering all those commands. And special thanks to my wonderful players from Expedition for the Mysterious Peaks tonight. Thank you to the awesome and amazing Rhiannon Held. Thank you so much to Toya Kristen Finley. Thank you so much to LaShawn M. Wannick. And thank you so much to Zach Clay. I love that new command. I love to hear opinions about me. It's one of my favorite hobbies. It's great stuff from Jiraxis. Great stuff. So that's it for me. I will see you folks on Tuesday afternoon, right around noon Eastern, for the Patreon Fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month, Neva. And then in the afternoon, Pen and Pixels over on GOG.com for the incredible and awesome By the Dice Roll playing D&D Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And that campaign is going in crazy directions too. So you'll definitely want to stop by for that also. Otherwise, have a good couple of days, everybody. And as I always say, please be good to each other. And I'll see you folks on Tuesday. Much love and bye for now.